All right. Let's see. Testing. I want this. Oh, you're here. Okay, you're here early. Can you guys let me know if you can hear me? Judge, I'm about to send you co-hosts. Ooh, excuse me. I just sent you the co-host, Judge. And can you guys hear me? We can hear you then. Thank you on YouTube. Thank you. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Thank you so much. All right. So can you guys, you're here early, Judge. Can you guys repost this space? And everyone on YouTube, can you share it on your social media and like the YouTube as well? How are you, Judge? How are you doing?
I'm managing. Hi, good morning. Well, good evening, I guess.
Yeah, were you taking a nap?
Actually, no, I was not taking a nap.
Mm-hmm. So, briefly, I spoke to you earlier. So this is open mic. So yes, I put the topic here, but if anybody want to talk about something or say something about something else that's going on, whatever's on your mind, you can, because it's open mic. So please share the space. So the topic is plantation politics, cotton pickers for hashtag Biden, right? And this is definitely talking to these Democrats who are stomping the hardest for the Biden administration, Biden and Kamala, right? There are people who do vote Democrat, and they're not sitting up here intentionally supporting Biden, but they vote Democrat, and most likely because where they live at is democratically ran. But I actually meant to add some people because there's one particular person that I want to add, and I'm gonna see if she's available to come into the space. But so plantation politics. We have called people who are on who are Democrats. We call them on the Democratic plantation cotton pickers for Biden, because I just don't understand. It's particularly talking about Black Americans. Why are Black Americans supporting the Biden administration when they have absolutely done nothing specifically for Black Americans? Policies that help all Americans they are not specifically for Black Americans. That's exactly what they're for. They're for all Americans. However, this same administration has allocated public policies for specific groups. So those specific groups, LGBTQ, Asian, illegals, they have special policies catered to them, special social services, and they also benefit from the policies that benefit all America. But Black Americans don't have anything. I'm not saying that the Republicans are better, but their policies for all of Americans are better than the policies that the Democrats are putting out there. But they don't have any policies specifically for Black Americans. However, Trump did allocate the platinum plan when he was first running for office, and Black people rejected that like the idiots. So I wonder if the Republican Party, particularly his administration, is going to implement any public policies specifically for Black Americans, especially when the thing going around hashtag Black jobs. They need to. And who are supposed to be the Black voices in his administration, right? Because that may be a problem. But he is going to be elected president. It is going to be a Trump administration. It is. The only way it is not is if the next assassination attempt, God forbid, was to actually be successful or something else drastic, right? But legally and righteously, he will be the next president. Right now, the Republican National Committee convention is going on in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Tonight, his adversaries at one point, Nikki Haley, Ron DeSantis is going to be speaking. Yesterday, he had all the Black people speaking, including Amber Rose. They did really good. But I heard 50 Cent may be performing. Maybe he'll perform Thursday when Trump speaks. We all know as of yesterday, he elected J.D. Vance for his VP pick. He is a senator from Ohio. I read his bio, but really people don't know too much about him, right? But I did put in the comment section below, I put a list of topics. So definitely to the plantation politics, cotton pickers for Biden. And if you are a Biden supporter, please come up and tell us why, push back or whatever. Church's chicken, the Church's chicken mammy, that's what I'm calling her, shot that Church's chicken worker because she got the chicken order wrong. She was on the loose for a week and she turned herself in yesterday. She is in jail without bail in Memphis, Tennessee. Biden spoke at the NAACP today, lying, couldn't read the teleprompter, saying $55 when he should have said 5% increase. And he called Kamala Harris Black, hashtag Black Jobs VP, Black Jobs President of the United States via Obama. And then, of course, I did put J.D. Vance because he called out Biden with his illegal migrant policies. And I put RNC convention. And then, of course, open mic, whatever you guys talk about outside of that. And I will be addressing News Toter space that took place on Sunday. I'll do that a little bit later. Shout out to News Toter, nothing but respect for him. So let's get to it. Real Queen, and then I'm gonna go to Amia, and then I'm gonna go to Deshaun. And if you guys want to request to come up, please do so. Because last week was 6 hours, and I'm not doing that. I put 9 p.m. to 12 a.m. What is that? 3 hours, and I am sticking to it. So go ahead. Well, did you want to say something just before I go to Real Queen? Hello.
Yeah, are you talking to me?
Yeah, did you want to say something before I go to Real
No,
Queen?
you can go. Real Queen's got her hand up.
Okay, so Real Queen, Amia, then Deshaun, and like I said, if you guys want to request, do it now, because I want to stick to the time. Go ahead, Real Queen.
Okay, let me do my formal introduction. All the way from the Crescent City, do you dig me? New Orleans, Louisiana. In the gold Trump corner, wearing red, white, and blue trunks, the people's champion, the female Mike Tyson, the American badass, Alicia for America. Now, first and foremost, the cotton pickers, the black Negroes on the Democratic plantation, you dig? I know y'all didn't watch the RNC because you're too enamored with Biden and your slave handlers. Now, Wesley Hunt is one of my hitters, and I just love what he had to say in the RNC. He was no victim. He played no victim. He told a true narrative of Black freedmen, men and women, standing up. He told the truth that his father didn't raise him to bitch, moan, and complain. He told the truth. He got where he is today from hard work, getting an education, staying in school, hitting them books, putting real G work in. Okay. And so why don't our people have a love and an attraction for telling the victorious narrative of Black people instead of the played out, tired, if you beat it with a stick, it wouldn't compete. I'm a freaking slave BS. Now, I want to pull y'all's chain for just a minute because, Panda God, the black female rapper out of Oakland, California, the murder capital of California. Okay, she was just murdered, and I'm sure it was by a black man or a black woman. But where is the freaking outrage? Okay, this woman remind me a lot of myself. She liked to build up her community, invest in black business, and donate. But y'all quiet as an MF now. On you, you fake FBA dick riders of Tariq Nasheed and a race baiting poverty pimp Jason Black. Shame face on you. Now to switch gears really quick, and I'll land my plane pretty soon. You know, you guys have to give. I called out
Real
black
quick,
people. Yeah, go ahead.
no, your connection was going in and out. Go ahead, we can hear you now.
Okay, I was calling out black people in my initial post about the attempted Trump assassination. And I know y'all go bitch about it because I lost a few followers off it. So let me clarify my statements here, if you will, you dig. Basically, you guys have a deep-seated hatred for America, whilst you claim to be FBA, you dig. You have a deep-seated hatred for your nation, the nation you claim you built. You have a deep-seated, unvetted hatred, misguided as it is, for Donald John Trump, the best U.S. president of our lifetime. And did you see all the Negroes from Hollywood coming out of the woodworks like some black female actress talking about, oh yeah, it was staged, just like all them Negroes and Instagram videos coming out mocking Trump? You ought to be ashamed of yourself. Come on. Get with a program, get with MACA, the pro-human party. This is a machine, a well-oiled machine, okay? That bull crap y'all crying about with all the, oh, please, daddy, give me reparations. That's BS. It will never work. You got to pick yourself up by your bootstraps and get with the program, okay? Trump will be our next president in the year 2024, going into 2025. I don't know what y'all gonna do, but you better get ready for a tidal wave of things to change. This mope in the ground, crying and bitching, armchair bull crap ain't gonna work soon. And all these crimes y'all committing, smash and grabs, you better leave it where it is. Because the police are coming back, baby, and I'm all for it. And I'll land my plane there. Hoorah!
Let me just say this real quick. Cotton pickers, for the sake of this conversation with the plantation politics, yes, I'm talking about black people, but I'm also talking about white people. I'm also talking about Asians. I'm also talking about Muslims, Jews, Christian, Catholics, everyone that swear by the donkey. So yeah, we have DEI in the cotton fields.
I understand, Dana. Anyway, that was the people's champion. I'm out, y'all. Salute.
All right, so
no, you don't get to let her get that off without somebody rebutting. Now, come on, Dana.
well, of course you could rebuttal. Real Queen ain't going nowhere. I'm gonna go to Amia and then Deshaun. You can unmute Amia. Does she hear me? Can she hear me?
Amia, can you hear Dana?
All right. I don't know. Maybe she's on the other end. Go ahead, Deshaun.
What's going on, Dana? Good evening to you, Judge Joe Brown, to the rest of the panel. What the hell was that? I'm just going to give like 1 minute to what the last speaker just said. I don't know where the hell she lives, where the hell she's been the last couple of decades, but black folks go to work. Not only do black folks go to work, I know a couple of black folks with 2, 3 jobs making it happen and has been making it happen. So I don't know what the hell this lady's talking about. I don't know where she's from. I don't know who she knows. But I beg to differ with actual facts, right? Majority of black folks are not just sitting around waiting for a handout. We're not sitting around waiting for somebody to give us something. We get up and take our ass to work. We get up and drive Uber. We get up and do Postmates. We get up and get on the train and go downtown. We get up and get in our cars and go leave from the suburbs or go to the suburbs to work, right? So I don't know what the hell she's talking about, trying to paint this picture of black people like we just sitting on our asses. And even Dana and Judge Joe Brown's gonna tell you that, right? So for her to say that is totally asinine. But I came up here, enough with her with that foolishness. But I came up here to, and I'm glad you clarified, right, Dana, who the cotton pickers were. You talking about the whole Biden camp? Okay, agreed. But I was wondering, are we able to talk about the Republican plantation tonight? I'm just trying to say because I can go down the list and tell you why it's a plantation, how it looks, and what people say and everything. So I think you should put Pound Trump in this title as well because both of them have plantations.
Excuse me, let me
Both
ask you a question. When did the Republican Party ever find itself responsible for plantations? They were chartered 1851 for abolition, the ending of slavery, and I think
She's not talking about an actual plantation.
I am.
Am I correct?
I am. We're talking
But that's
about
not what I'm
actual
talking about, Judge.
plantations.
I'm talking about
Well, I am.
what Dana's talking about.
Well,
And
I
she's
am.
talking about a political
I am.
where
I'm talking about a real plantation. What do you think that is?
We're not talking about that right
But
now,
I
Judge.
am. So the bottom line is,
So what you want to talk about? You
well,
want me to say that? You want me to praise Democrats?
no,
No,
I
absolutely
mean,
not.
the point
Yes,
was
they had.
you're gonna
Go
listen
ahead,
to
Judge.
find out what I'm talking about. The
Yes,
real
sir, Judge.
queen was talking about Democratic Party supporting Negroes. She wasn't saying all black people do that. She was talking about the tendency of those who support the Democratic Party to be looking for a handout. That's what she was saying. And the other point is today, the plantation is in the mind. So, of course, it is figurative when somebody says that. You're not talking about a literal plantation where they keep Negroes as two-legged cattle, but we're talking about those who defeat themselves by acting as cattle on a plantation of the mind where there are no fences except in somebody's mind, but they're afraid to walk off. Where instead of picking cotton, what they do is push the rainbow. So that's the problem that some people might be addressing. Now,
Well,
that's it.
so would you say, Judge, that the Republican Party also has a plantation then, right?
Well,
How?
the problem,
How? Because you
the
have many
problem
poor
is this.
Republicans who still vote Republican no matter what, and they're still poor.
Look, so what? This is the thing. Politics doesn't work like that. Politics does not give a damn about anybody. Politics is only responsive to what gives it the most clout. People don't go to war these days and start sticking spears in people for slight offenses or slight upsets or for slight gain. So what happens is the vote is a substitute for physical combat. It's been long said war is but the ultimate extension of the political process. And the political process is a lesser edition of war. That needs to be understood. So what goes on is sometimes a political party that does not like you becomes very much enamored of you if they find that they want your vote. And then when they want your vote, you start becoming part of that political party. And when you become part of that political party, it starts responding to you. That's political science. And that's a 3,000-year-old set of observations on how humans work when they interact with each other, and politics comes into play anytime you have three or more humans that have to interact. And if you want to see primitive politics, go to the zoo, go to the primate house, watch the baboons and the chimps, and you can see politics that you can recognize if you just sit there long enough and watch what they do with each other. So that's all we're talking about here. It's not, is a party going to do you any favors, because it is a conglomeration of people that's attempting to do each of themselves as something of a favor. So if they think you're part of the support group that encourages them, then they will give you something for it. And if you want to see how it worked in its extreme form, look at a picture of World War II when you've got Joe Stalin sitting in a chair, Winston Churchill sitting in a chair, and FDR sitting in a chair. And they're all trying to get Tojo and Benito and Adolf. You see, people come together for purposes. And then after they got those three, they all go at each other again. That's what politics is about.
Well, I want to ask this Sean, because he said that, he said the Republican plantation. I want you to elaborate on what you call the Republican plantation. You said you could run it down.
Yeah. Go for it.
Yeah. So around the time the last election, right? Last election, I really started looking into. I was heavy on YouTube and I was on social media as well, and I stumbled on one of these small documentaries, and then after that, I went down a rabbit hole, obviously. But I'll never forget. It was a town they did a couple of towns actually. They did a few in Appalachia, but it was a specific town in Virginia, poor white town, right? And they showed before Donald Trump got elected, his first term, and then they showed after. And they was talking to these people. And one of the things that stuck out was not only were they physically still poor down there, right? Physically, but they talked about how poor they was and how they thought Donald Trump was going to do this. I think he had promised to like bring back steel mills to those small towns, and he didn't. And basically they go on to say that he lied. But those types of folk, when he asked, were still going to vote for Donald Trump in 2020, right? And so when I come up and say both on plantations, and they are, because what happens is if you're going to blame one side, you need to blame the both, because what's going to happen is you end up and both of them are voting against their own interests. You're going to say that the Democratic voters are voting against their own interests. Well, poor white Republicans are voting against their own interests, right? And so if you look at one, you got to say it about the other one. That's all.
I won't completely disagree with you there. But I think that for me, when you're talking about, I guess the Republicans in the rural areas, Kentucky, the hillbillies, like the J.D. Vance background, right? It's not so much, yes, they're voting, they look at, okay, their finances at their kitchen table. I think for them, and I could be wrong, but I think for them, they are voting for constitutional freedoms, whether it's the right to bear arms, freedom of speech, freedom of press, all of that. But I get your point. It's like they're still poor,
So wouldn't you be able to make that argument with people on the left and why they still continue to vote for Democrats at such high rates? Can you make the same argument?
Yes, you can. And I mean, listen, always look at the other side of the coin. So if there is a Democrat plantation, then maybe you could say it is a Republican plantation. However, when we go back in history, it was the Democrats that wanted to keep people on the plantation. However, to what the judge was saying, bringing back up to current, we talk about in our minds, this whole system, especially with politicians, they lie to us. They lie to the general public. And a lot of people, a lot of times people vote because of likability or the sense of hope. But at the same time, when we look at, and this is where you have to veer off to the different groups, you know, what has the different groups, whether you Asian, you know, white, Middle American, Black Americans, LGBT, how has the Democrat Party benefited you with public policies versus the Republicans? And if we were to literally do that research, literally, and write it down, I'm going to say that whether you're Jewish, LGBT, white, Middle American, Asian, or whatever, I'm not going to include Black people. They all, in some forms, benefit from Republican policies, but they also benefit from Democrat. But when you go to Black Americans, we don't benefit from Democrats and we don't benefit from Republicans for two different reasons. Do you hear what I'm saying? So it's like, I can't sit up here and say you're wrong. I can't do that because I understand what you're saying and it makes sense. I just think that it's a different type of ideology or philosophy behind it. If I'm making sense to you.
Yeah.
But go ahead. You can finish.
Let me
finish
add
up what you were
something. Let
saying.
me add a brief point. It's like trying to get laid. If there is somebody that's looking attractive to you and you want to get laid, you have to do certain things to get the pussy. All right. Or if you're a woman, you got to do something so you get the dick. Now, if you're dealing with the Democrats, you got a dick, they want to put a dick in you. You got a pussy, they want you to eat theirs. See, that's where the difference comes in. The Republicans like dick in pussy. The Democrats like pussy on pussy and dick on dick. Now, that may be what you want to do to get your freak on in the bedroom, but that ain't what most people want to get into. That's their business. Now, our problem is that we don't get this seduction thing. If you want somebody to give you what you want, you have to make yourself desirable. And our problem right now is this. No matter what the Democrats refuse to or decline to do for Black folk, they get the Black vote. No matter what the Republican Party tries to do or whatever for Black folk, they won't get the Black vote. So no party has an incentive to do a damn thing for Black folk. So what has to happen is, since the Democratic Party is the one that's getting it and is not delivering, in politics, every other ethnic group in this country's history, in fact, all around the world, what happens is if one party doesn't deliver, go to the other one and get them saying, oh, this is good. We like this. This gives us power because we get that extra body of votes in there. So it's a back and forth thing that keeps going on. It doesn't stop. You can't rest on your laurels and say, we got this party right now, because you won't if you keep that attitude. You always have to be in the position of calling the shot, and we are not. Now, that's just the political science reality. So I'll pass the mic.
But I mean, yeah, to your point, Judge, and I know y'all got hands, my last thing. Yeah, that sounds good in theory, right, Judge? Right? You say if they're not doing it here, you go over here. But what happens is the Republicans end up doing crazy shit, saying crazy shit, and displaying crazy shit, which in turn the Black voters that they could have had. I say this all the time, and a lot of few of them in this space have heard me make this analogy before. We are on the court with Democrats and Republicans. Democrats, they have the wide open layup with defense on it, but it's an easy layup. So, but they keep missing it. The Republicans are literally on the other end, wide open. I tossed the ball to the Republicans on the other end, and they missed the wide open layup. And not only do they miss the wide open layup, it's an air ball. Like, you literally, in this last 4 years, the Republicans could have garnered enough votes that will put Donald Trump over in November, more than the percentage folks been talking about. But what do? They fumble the bag, as us young folks say. They miss the layup, and now we here. Whether that's ban books, or coming against reparations, or touting racist, crap across the internet, or whatever that may be, right? Because make no doubt about it, I know Republicans like to say that they don't see color, and it's not about color. They full of shit when they say that. They prove on this app and other places every single day that race and color is a part of who the Republican Party is also. So, I mean, it's kind of hard to, I know it sounds good in theory, but it's kind of hard when you literally have the Republican Party that's running defense, or often, whatever you want to call it, running against the people who's trying to get us over to the Republican Party.
Let me ask you a question. I'm going to be specific about this. Every time you hear from the Democratic Party, you're talking about what's to be done for black women, black women, black women, black women, the black woman, the black woman. What have you heard them do for black men? And when it comes to that, when have you heard them support the family? Now, we have an immediate crisis. Some of us are Christian, some of us are Islamic, very few are Jewish. They're Hindu, and then they're Buddhist, etc. They're non-believers. And we don't particularly want one of the other religions to capture the field and run stuff. We want our particular faith to be in charge. Well, one of the problems is that you can't accuse the Republicans of this, but when you go visit your child or your grandchild in elementary, junior high, or high school, and you see all of these rainbow flags up, when you see all of the lesbian feminist teachers who are trying to teach them the rainbow, when you realize your faith can't have a symbol up in City Hall, but you see a rainbow flag, when you see a rainbow flag under the American flag, when you see the sidewalks and the crosswalks painted in the rainbow, where you see Walt Disney and all of the major Hollywood networks and studios trying to cram everything down your throat with the rainbow. You see everything is mentioned in terms of the rainbow and nothing in terms of the traditional nuclear family. In fact, if you take BLM, some of us on this site, I recognize a few, remember a few years ago when we started attacking BLM because the first thing on their mantra, what we believe is, quote, we are for the destruction of the traditional nuclear family. And they conclude, I think number 3 to the end was something from the North American Man Boy Love Association about there should be no restriction on age as to when a child should be able to engage in physical love. So is that what we want? And that seems to be, and everybody can see this, there's no equivocation about this. That is the main point of the Democratic Party. It has been captured not by the Southerners like it was in a good portion of my lifetime when all of the black people used to be Republicans, specifically Lincoln Republicans. It is something now where it represents the rainbow, and I can't see that that is in anybody's interest. So is that what we're trying to reinforce today, or do we want something that deals with manhood, womanhood, and childhood? So I'll pass
One
the mic.
second. Yeah, 1 second, real quick. Are people who are up here speaking, are you having problems staying up here, connection problems, or is it just something may come up and you got to drop out? Because several people requesting to come up, but then you end up dropping down. So I want to know if it's a connection issue. Yes or no?
I had a small issue, but it seems to be resolved.
Yeah,
Okay.
my hands are just full, so I had to drop down and come back.
Oh, okay. And yeah, and Amia, this is like your 5th time requesting. So it's like, and I bring you up, but you drop down. So I don't know what the issue is, but I'm gonna give you the last word, Deshaun. Then I'm gonna move on to Hot Boy, Sexy Rod, Nico, and Dr. Mark, and then I see two people.
I'm good. I'm good for now.
Okay. Hot Boy.
Yes, ma'am. So it's like this. I mean, of course, those of you who've heard me speak knows that I'm out here supporting the Don. Um, what took place at his rally was deplorable. These people are saying that, and I'll keep it brief as usual. These people are saying that if Donald Trump is elected, he is a threat to democracy. But it is incumbent upon us to use our common sense and believe our lying eyes over the media. Because the only threat to democracy I see is people censoring freedom of speech, people trying to ban firearms and take away firearms, people with open borders. And it's been said by some great philosopher that a country without borders isn't a nation at all. It's not a country at all, and that only makes sense. But I said all that to say this. I actually blame Black people because, y'all are still trying to vote for Democrats. To this day, you can't tell me one thing that Joe Biden or the Democrats did for Black people, but you can make up a lot of cockamamie excuses as to why I shouldn't vote for Donald
Wait, are you
Trump
saying you
or
blame
the
us for
Republican Party.
Saturday? Just clarification. You blame us for Saturday?
Do I blame you for Saturday? No,
Oh,
no,
okay.
that's somebody else's
Oh,
fault,
okay.
to be honest. That's somebody
But
else's
is he
fault. That's the
even
gay
us to
people's
even
fault.
blame us for anything? He's not even us to blame us for anything. I don't
All right,
get
I
it.
want
The
Hot
discussion
Boy to
is
finish up.
not on blackness today. The discussion has to do with the political climate and voting in this election. So anybody can come in this discussion today. In fact, Dana and I have a policy. Anybody can join in any discussion because even if somebody has something to say that's adverse to your particular position, you need to hear it. That's why governments spend a lot of money on intelligence, aka spying. That's why you have James Bond and CIA, etc., and had the KGB and the Russian equivalent now. Find out what's
Okay.
going on.
Okay. Thank you, Judge. I appreciate that. And of course, you and Dana know that, I have a lot of respect for y'all, even though I've never met y'all in person. But my point is that the Democratic Party is so foolish, so selfish that they are willing, and they've said that out of their own mouth, that they are willing to vote for Joe Biden, even considering that Joe Biden may not live for the next 4 years. They are saying that Donald Trump staged his own assassination. This man is going to accomplish more in 1 week than most of us will ever accomplish in our entire lives. And he doesn't need to stage anything to impress or convince us. So yeah, I think the conversation is not about blackness, but yeah, plantation politics, man. Why are you can't even tell me why you're voting for a Democrat. But I can give you 50 great reasons why I'm voting for Donald Trump. You can't even tell me why you're voting for a Democrat. You can't even articulate that. You're just going to be loud, strong, and wrong. And I land my plane.
Well, I gotta push back, Hot Boy, because it was 2 weeks ago you came in here saying that you are on a Democratic organization in Florida where you live at.
Correct. And much like this shooter, for lack of a better term, he was apparently registered Republican. But a lot of these hardcore politics people, they do things like that. They may register as the opposite party to confuse the primaries, and then in the presidential. And yeah, but
So
the
you
point.
changed your mind. You changed your mind.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'm a day one. I'm a day
Good. They
one.
won what? Republican or Democrat?
I'm a day one. Make America Great Again guy.
No, you're not. You came in here the 2 weeks ago.
Basically,
And we
Right.
Dana, if Donald Trump loses in November, he's going back to the Democratic Party.
right.
Incorrect. I will never go to the Democratic Party because I'm not a sheep. I'm
Wait
not
a
even going to
minute.
let
So,
you. I'm not even
hot
going to let
boy,
you
hot
tell me
boy.
that I'm
Wait,
on that because I'm just not a sheep. I would
hot boy.
never do
Didn't you?
that.
Did
I
you
would be
not?
betraying myself,
Did you not come into
my
this
own
space?
common sense. Yeah,
Did
but
you not?
I work for a Democratic campaign, but that's just a money thing. I don't put any effort or
Oh,
any
my bad,
sincerity
Dana. He
when
grifted.
doing that.
I'm sorry, he grifted.
I'm not putting in any effort or any sincerity when I'm doing that. I'm just doing the job to make a buck. You know what I'm saying? But my loyalty
What the
is
hell is
with
happening?
my.
We gotta get these immigrants out of here.
Hold on, people. This is a tactic. Let me break it down for you. It's well known. You're encouraged to register with the other party so you can F up their primary by voting in it and voting for somebody that's a weak candidate. So the party that you actually support will have a higher opportunity or likelihood of winning. Back in 2000, there was a big to do about Democrats registering as Republicans for the primary and voting for Republican candidates that were on the weak side. That is a tactic that's been going on for a long, long time. You support
Correct.
one party, but you register for the other one so you can vote in the primary against strong candidates for that party that you are going to ultimately vote against. That's a tactic. So I'll back off now.
Correct,
Continue.
and that's why the show was registered
Boy,
as a
you ain't
Republican.
that sophisticated. You ain't.
Wait, can you? People got
You
to get
don't
on
know
their
me
mic. We're not doing that.
exactly.
And
All right.
also,
So, are you finished, hot boy? I gotta move on to other
Yes.
people. All right. For right now, I guess.
Yeah. For
All
right
right.
now.
Sexy Rod, then Nico, Dr. Mark, Amia, and Immortal. And I see Brooklyn Israelites. Go ahead, Sexy Rod.
Hi, Dana. Hi, Judge Joe Brown.
Hi.
I just want to talk about how right now with the Democrat Party, if we continue to vote for them, how they're planning our ethnocide, genocide, and erasure, right? We are not receiving anything at this moment from the Democrats, considering that they have been receiving the votes from us, especially here in the last 4 years. And now they have emboldened actually immigrants to speak, verbalize, emotionally be abusive towards us and say that we don't deserve anything as Americans, that we are the lazy ones and things of that nature. It's really out of hand. And to me, at this moment, it's like domestic terrorists are on the soil. Today, I read about how the Chinese have infiltrated this country. They have spies all over this land. So, at this point in time, I think for our people, and I'm speaking about Black Americans specifically, our freedmen that are authentic, original Americans. We have to see what the play is right now with the Democrat Party. And the Democratic Party is not for us at all. It is not for us and our legacy and our lineage continuing on in the next 100 years in this country. And I just don't understand at this moment, this pivotal moment, how our people are taking in whatever propaganda that they're putting on television. No,
Hallelujah.
let me walk it back. Let me walk it back. I understand because they got people looking like us, right? Our melanated Black leadership has sold us out, and they're still trying to take our people and lead them into this place of ethnocide, genocide, the final straw. So I think it's very important for us to begin to attack those Black leadership, those in Black leadership, and start at this point in time to the top of our lungs screaming ethnocide, genocide via the Democratic Party. And I'll land it there.
Okay. Nico.
Hey, yes, thanks, Dana, for having me up here. Another great space. And Judge Joe Brown, always a pleasure. Can I ask two softball questions, Dana, or just one?
No, go
Okay,
ahead.
first question is for Judge Joe Brown. do you, this is just opinion, so this is, whatever, just opinion. Do you think that the CIA to this day still controls mainstream media? That's one. And then two, do you think that as far as, and I quote, Joe Biden is making a statement, I quote, it's time to put Trump in a bullseye, end of quote, 5 days, 4 or 5 days prior to the attempted assassination of President Trump in Pennsylvania. Do you think statements like that, and then you have the leftist mainstream media constantly comparing Trump to Hitler and making all these type of bold statements, do you think that influence that lunatic shooter? And I'll land right there. Thank you.
My answer, I'm sure it did. We've had 6 years, 7 years of continuous rhetoric villainizing the opposite side from the Democratic Party. We had an encouragement of the riots and the lootings and the public disorder, the burning and destruction of billions of dollars of properties that the Democratic Party encouraged. We have inflammatory rhetoric that is typical of the flip the script rhetoric that is characteristic of fascist and communist propaganda on behalf of the Democratic Party that has gotten the public used to the idea of violence. We have a problem that you can see in this shooter when you look at his profile. Everybody that knew him said he got bullied a lot. All the way back to the shooter that was on the tower down in Texas at a college back in the mid 60s. We find that these freaks who shoot up the hallways and the hoods too, punk asses doing the drive-bys, they lack manhood and they do not know how to deal with the bully element. And we have a thing now where instead of protecting the children by teaching them at all costs to stand up to bullies, we try to protect them. But what goes on in there doesn't get resolved, and it comes out just like they did with this creep. So we have a thing where, take Maxine Waters, what she's accusing Trump of with January 6th, she's been doing on a regular basis, where she is actually trying to incite violence. She even recommends specific actions. If you see, well, this has been 4 years ago, if you saw a Trump Pence bumper sticker, key the car or break the windows out. If you saw a poster in a business, break the windows. We have people talking about now lawlessness and criminality that's running amok in the cities is just a form of unofficial reparations. We see the kids are justified because they're down on the bottom and, they can't help it and there's no responsibility. We have a thing where we have seen the pushing of negation. In other words, instead of being strong, being weak. And it's been going the circles on X quite often. It's a thing that says hard times produce strong men. Strong men produce good times. Good times produce weak men. Weak men produce hard times. And we're in hard times right now, and it's time for us to flip the cycle back the other direction. So, too much weakness. You don't like what you are, so you're supposed to be encouraged at 9, 10 years old to switch. Take puberty blockers so you can become something else. And 2 months ago, the American Medical Association, the American Psychiatric Association, the one for clinical psychologists, sociologists, they issued some papers and they said this is not science when they say that this switching gender is normal. Fluid gender is not normal. It is just something from some far out cranks who practice themselves what they're talking about. This is not normal. And 75% of children who have gender diaspora want to switch back to what they are. We have a scene right here in Nashville where 6 people got killed a year ago at a school, 3 adults, 3 children. The shooter was a tranny, and he puts out on a manifesto he wrote that he is going back to get revenge for these people in this school, encouraging him to transition. And we've got a thing now where a sister who is a pretty looking black female judge, she's locking up the journalist because he will not reveal his source and tell who the cop was that let him photograph this stuff, because they're trying to keep this manifesto secret because it does not match the narrative. You see, there's too
Sorry
much
to
of
interrupt,
this. Now,
Judge. So you're saying the tranny person that shot up the school?
I'm sorry. Can everybody just stay on your
well,
mic until he's
the
finished?
tranny,
And then
yeah, that's a good question. The tranny person that shot up the school left a manifesto that has now been leaked that shows that he did it because he was angry that somebody gave him BS advice about go ahead and trans. He didn't want, he said he wishes he could undo it. And that's what the medical association was saying, that 75% of those who want to switch 4 to 5 years afterwards, they want to go back to being normal. So it's they said it was a very bad thing to encourage children to transition because they get over it and a lot of stuff like that. So it's, where are we going with this, where we've got a political party that is dead set on giving this cult, this faith, everything it wants, cramming it down everybody's throat, and nobody gets an option of saying, no, I'm not buying it. I mean, it's one thing if somebody does it in their bedroom. It's a totally different thing where it gets promoted, imposed, and you get a situation that looks like a Catholic Inquisition in the Dark Ages where you get burned at the stake if you are a heretic. Now, that's where we are right now, and I think that's the main problem. But there also are other things that come out of that. You see, black, white, brown, red, yellow. Humans are humans, and we have this thing called the traditional nuclear family. That's human. So when somebody threatens that, you get black, white, brown, red, yellow, who can form a quick alliance and say, no, we're not going to let that happen. So you've got one side that hates itself, that works on a negation that the Democratic Party supports wholeheartedly. They're into self-hate, and you've got another group that is trying to say, well, we learned from dealing with black folk that we shouldn't be biased, but then sometimes you are supposed to be biased. We've got people that want to kill folk because they're homicidal maniacs. We've got kleptomaniacs who have a huge urge to steal. We've got pedophiles that have a huge urge to molest children, but we cannot allow them to manifest their particular drive, and we have to say no. They go to a penitentiary or they get put in a mental institution when they can't resist this, because that is a dysfunction that cannot be allowed. We cannot have and survive as a nation or as a people or as a community when you've got a party that is a national party that is pushing to allow these kind of deviants to express what they want, not just as an opinion in the First Amendment sense, but actually forcibly impose it on others. Now, that's where the problem comes in, right there.
Nico, did you have
And
a
I'm
second
so
Yes, the
question?
sorry.
second question was, in respect to the hands. Very short, Judge Joe Brown. Do you think, just a matter of opinion, do you think that the CIA is still in charge and controlling the mainstream media machine?
Well, here's the thing. You get a lot of people that went to Yale, Princeton, and Harvard. They they're in the CIA. They run governments. They run the legal system in the country to an extent. And they went to school with each other for years. They come from the same social circles. Yes, officially and unofficially, the CIA, because they're composed of the same type of individual, does have a great deal of influence on what happens on a day-to-day basis in the country. When you get into analyzing stuff, you get this. Look at politics. Uh, there is uh, Samuel Hinckley, late of Cape Cod. And we find that in recent politics, you had Sarah Palin, who was the vice presidential candidate for John McCain. John McCain was running against Barack Obama. Barack Obama and Sarah Palin are cousins, blood cousins. Also, we had just gotten through with the Bush administration. Both Bushes were cousins to Barack Obama, and the vice president under George W. Bush, Dick Cheney, was a cousin to all of them. So we have this thing where we have these family alliances all tied up with each other. So what are we getting right now? You obviously, when you get people at a family gathering, a family reunion, they're all talking, they're all part of the same filial group, they're blood kin. And of course, they have certain things in common. And that's what is happening. And we don't even realize what's going on. Think about it. George W. Bush, George Herbert Walker Bush, Dick Cheney, Sarah Palin, Barack Obama, they're all cousins. For God's sake, what's going on here? And then let's say George Herbert Walker Bush, for your point, was head of the CIA at one time. Then he became president. Barack Obama's stepfather, who adopted him, Lolo Sotoro, ran the spy operations for the U.S. government in the in the West Pacific, in China, North Korea, North Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos. What do you have? You got a family enterprise. Barack Obama's maternal grandmother dispensed funds for the CIA in the West Pacific area. She was vice president in the Hawaiian Bank. That's all out there. She didn't even deny it. So yes, you do get the influences of the CIA in these things because a lot of the influences go through family gatherings. Now I'll pass the mic.
All right. Dr.
Oh,
Mark.
I just wanted to say quickly, so sorry to butt in, but
Oh, I'm sorry. One second, because number one, your audio is messed up, and I do have it in an order, like it's couple people ahead of you. So it was one person ahead of you, Dr. Mark. So if Dr. Mark wants to yield his place to you, he could do so, but I don't want to skip over people.
No, that's fine. Go ahead, Dr. Mark. I was just saying, yeah, I was in the store, so I was going in and out, but I'm requested now, so you see me in the queue. Okay, great.
Okay. All right, go ahead, Dr. Mark.
All right. Good evening, Dana. Good evening, Judge Joe Brown and everybody else. Just to touch back on the transgender. Can y'all hear me?
I can hear
You kind of
Yeah.
dropped out there. You
Yeah, I had a
disappeared for
phone
a
call.
second or two. Go ahead.
Yes. So there's an
Okay, I hear you now.
Okay, there's an organization, the World Professional Alliance, Association of Transgender Health, and essentially it's these are the experts supposedly on all things transgender, puberty blockers, transgender surgery, transition, and so forth. And these files were leaked. I don't know if anybody's aware of it, but what you have on these files is like a lot of internal communication between physicians and experts, emails, video conferences. And essentially, the gist of it is that they all questioned the validity of the medicine. It's essentially it's pseudoscience when it comes to transgender health. They're outwardly saying on these files that they know it harms kids. There's kids who've had tumors from puberty blockers and hormones. There's kids who've had bone loss, and then they've acknowledged that um, they don't even know if it helps with suicide rate, because that's the whole purpose of transgender health, is to decrease suicide. Um, but the media is like quiet on it, and it seems like it's just getting pushed so hard. And I just have a question. It's like, why? Like, why? I mean, I just don't think there's not enough people who, I mean, politically, I don't see enough voters that would make a difference that are actual transgender. Um, but it just seems like this is like a major thing to push it, to cover it up, to make it look uh, the the best that it possibly can, like covering up the manifesto of the transgender shooter in Tennessee, and just you know making it sound like there's no risks involved in transitioning these children. So, to Judge Joe Brown, I would ask, you know, aside from, like, I heard what you made a point about it earlier, but I mean, is that all the benefit it is? Like, what is the benefit for the Democrats and liberals to constantly like push for this issue hardcore and make it acceptable and make it like part of American life? I just don't get it. It almost seems like sadistic in a sense, and I'm just still confused as to why it's pushed so hard. So I just wanted your input on that, and I'll land there.
Briefly, if I might respond to you, Doctor, is this: misery loves company. I did something unique. Tennessee law allowed me to have everybody I sentenced mentally evaluated. And I, with a few exceptions, basically had everyone I sentenced mentally evaluated. And I put together a team of psychiatrists, doctors, medical doctors, and clinical psychologists and sociologists. And they got a lot of chance to do research, and some of what they came up with was counterintuitive, or at least very much adverse to what the popular impression of things was about. And in the process, we came up with a conclusion: misery loves company. And there are a lot of people that encourage a lot of dysfunction because they want somebody to be in the same trick bag they find themselves in. So, yeah, it doesn't make sense. Why do we open the border like we have? Why do we have some of the policies we have? Why do we have situations where the state of Washington says, in spite of the deteriorating capacity and ability of lawyers today, why do they say we aren't going to require lawyers to take the bar because it might interfere with somebody's dreams? Why do we have a state like Oregon saying it causes people to feel bad about themselves, so we will not have them doing math where they don't have to, so they don't have to memorize their multiplication tables, so they won't have difficulty, or states coming up with ideas like we don't need to have the children doing homework because it's onerous, yet homework is a foundation that you rely on the rest of your life depending upon your job description and what you do to earn a living. See, we have all of this kind of stuff going on. We have a very competitive world, but we say uh, no competition because it hurts self esteem. So everyone should get a participation ribbon. And we shouldn't have any class elections because that might leave someone's self esteem shattered by not winning. And we shouldn't have guilt. We shouldn't have shame because it's horrible to guilt trip somebody or shame somebody. So, shame and guilt are two of the self control factors that humans have relied upon for a long time to keep ourselves in line. Now, what are we trying to do here? It does not make any sense, but it's like a tenet of faith. I said not just the rainbow cult, but the rainbow faith. And when we have faith, we have a lot of things that we may or may not do that make no sense at all. But it becomes part of and an article of the particular faith. So that's one of the things that's the downside of spreading this rainbow cult as the official faith of the United States of America. Now I'll pass the mic with that.
All right. Amia.
Hey, yeah, you invited me to your space.
What do you mean?
You have the mic. Speak.
You invited, yeah, you invited me to your space. I was in News Turtle's room the other day. Like I said, you're not gonna get any pushback from me on this topic, but the previous topic, I spoke my piece in News Turtle's room. Did you have any rebuttal? You said that you invited me.
We
So.
haven't heard it. What is your piece? Most of us here weren't in on that room.
Oh, okay. So, like I told everyone in this space, Dana, I really tried to like you, and last year I blocked you, and I blocked you because I realized that you were using Reparations Now movement as like your engagement piece. That you were not serious about it. You don't even know the real talking points, and that you are a naysayer and a finger wagger, and also a boule, and you actually have no interest in ultimately helping us with the Fed push. And I stay by that. I stick with that. You're too concerned. Oh, let me finish right quick. Sorry. You're too concerned with content creation. So.
Well, what is that saying?
That's saying that if someone was serious about reparations, about restorative, reparative justice, that they would not be so negative and start calling this her point across in previous spaces, not in News Turtle space yesterday, but in previous spaces. I just feel like that she is very performative, I should say.
Well, perhaps she had a point. I've heard Miss Dana on many occasions, public and private, express some opinions. Let's just try this one. In context of my experience in life, this is the third time I have been experienced with Black folk pushing for reparations. It is the second time since I have been over 21 where this has happened. My parents and I discussed it at great length, and it happened in their lifetimes twice. And I had some interesting observations from one grandparent born back in the 19th century, and another one left me a journal, and he was born in 1850, 11 years before the Civil War. And those two touched on efforts to get reparations. So, if I might summarize the position, reparations would be very great to get it. We deserve it. But essentially, the graveyards are full of people who deserve something that didn't get it. Now, if you work at it and you get paid for it, and I had a roommate, one of my best friends in life, who's no longer around right now. He actually was getting paid by the UN to work on reparations. This was the second time in my life, which is the first time as an adult I was exposed to it. And he was a lawyer. We went to high school together, played football together, hung out together, a whole lot of stuff. And he got paid for it. So I helped him along, but I did not take time out from defending people who were accused of criminal acts when they got brought in front of a jury or a court. Now, it's like I've got a friend I'm talking to right now. She's a great grandparent. She's in her 70s, and she's got an addiction to the casino. She has all kinds of justification of spending a lot of her time trying to win down in Tunica, Mississippi, in the casinos down there. She hasn't won yet, but she has thrown away more money, opportunity, and time trying to win than she has gotten back. So we have an agency, it's known as the Black Caucus, that looks like us. They got elected to do something about things like reparations, but they haven't. And none of them have introduced any reparative acts in the last 35 years. And they've been quite numerous, and they have an important impact on legislative success, but they have done nothing about reparative justice for Black folk. And the problem is that while we are spending a lot of time working directly on reparations, we are not dealing with the apparatus that's already there that should take care of it. So why are we voting for this block of Black folk or Negroes who have done nothing to deliver reparations?
I
Now,
completely agree with you, but who are the people who are tasked to bring the Congressional Coon Caucus up to task? I
well,
would
we
think
are. We
lawyers, I
vote
would think
for them.
judges, I would also think judges, I would also think lawyers, I would also
They
think the
don't.
regular smuggler people.
They don't.
And
You
that's what
see,
we're
the
doing.
problem is a lawyer can't do anything about compelling an individual to introduce a legislative proposition.
A
A
lawyer has a
judge,
lot of sway with
no,
a lot
I
of with a
look,
lot of
I've been doing it
politics.
for 50 some years. I graduated at the top of a major law school. Okay. It ain't
I
being
agree
done
with you, and we
because
respect that. Judge, hang on one second. We respect you. We respect that. We
I
love that for
know
you.
I'm trying to
But
tell you
you
how
are
to
part.
get it.
But
Let
hang
me,
on, hang on. You were looked at as part of the boule, another naysayer,
I'm
another
not
finger
Boule.
wagger,
I grew up
and
in
you,
South Central LA. I've been shot twice on some street bullshit in my life. Okay. I've
honey,
done
it's not.
some
It's
things. Now,
you are
okay.
considered. I'm trying to tell you, you're considered as a boule only because where you're at in stature.
I know
That you
that.
are
I know
okay.
that.
So that's what we're saying. And what we're saying is that you done had 30 plus years, and I'm not knocking you, sir. And I respect you. And I love that you're a judge. But you are a card
It's,
carrying hang on, you are a card carrying Alaskan Native. And how does that look as a card carrying Alaskan Native? You're gonna say some naysaying stuff about
look,
Black American
excuse
Negro
me. I'm
freedmen
not
does not
saying,
deserve to get reparations.
look, I'm not saying naysay. I'm simply
But
saying
you are when you put that in the
I'm
atmosphere. You have to
saying,
change your
Wait,
language, and you know
let
this
him
as a judge.
respond. Let him
Okay.
respond.
look,
Yes,
it's
go ahead.
like
Yes,
the
sir.
NAM
Sorry.
was
Yes,
going
sir. Go
on.
ahead.
The NAM was going on. That's my generation. Sergeants telling you what to expect when you get shot at. The mortars start going off, and the booby traps are looming out there. And he's trying to tell you how you survive this. Now, I'm not telling you that it can't be done. I'm telling you we're doing it the wrong way. You see, the main
Oh,
way to get it is to get a legislative act that is an enablement and an appropriations act. In other words, a law that says this is what's
yes.
going
We
to
need an
be and this
appropriations
is how
bill.
we pay for it. Now,
I completely agree with you. Appropriations will set the budget.
listen to me. There is no avenue that a whole lot of Black lawyers and some white ones have investigated to sue anybody and get it. Now, there are some possibilities. In fact, I have some theories that maybe somebody can try one day. But the only way to get it is to get a legislative act. But our problem is that we are neglecting step one, which is if a group of legislators can introduce a bill that might accomplish the ends, we are not working on getting that group in position to do it. So it would strike me that if there's a square one, we need to work on square one, which means we're doing what we do right now. Why support the Democratic machine when their effort is toward not reparations for their own people as they look, but for their own people as they behave. Now, what do I mean by that?
I think it-
5 years ago, we had 2 years, 2 weeks worth of a circus by the Black Caucus over whether or not to set up a study on the feasibility of reparations. Now,
Are you talking about HR 40?
no, I'm not talking about HR 40. I'm talking about the 2 week long circus where they had all these hearings on whether or not to set up a committee to study reparations. The point is
Oh, I
that
understand.
the same Black Caucus members that put on this circus for 2 weeks on whether to study it, 2 weeks later, sponsored legislation for what they had the nerve to call the Gay Reparations Act. It passed on the first voice vote without debate. Now, you want to hear something that's interesting that they're trying to hide? I know the head of the Black Caucus's Reparations Committee. He's also head of the caucus, the Liberty Caucus's Reparations Committee. The Liberty Caucus is the LGBTQIA caucus. The person that's head of the Black Caucus's Reparations Committee is a gay white Jew, and his name is Steve Cohen from Memphis, the 9th District of Tennessee. So they got a white guy, Jewish guy, gay guy in charge of the Black Reparations Committee. And 2 weeks after that damn circus, he had introduced or co-sponsored legislation to get gay reparations. It was chump change. It wasn't but 58 million for those gays who had been denied insurance benefits because of their same-sex status, but it was open-ended, and in the last 5 years, no telling how much has been spent on it. Now, if the same damn Black Caucus, all but about 5 members belong to the gay caucus, are doing all of this for the gay side that they represent, that they've chosen to be, why in the hell are we still putting them in when they haven't done a damn thing except put on a circus for the black side? That's our problem right there. And that's why we have stuff like we're doing now. Do we continue to support the Democratic Party that looks like us, some of them, but really aren't because they have an elective ethnic group being rainbow rather than the ethnic group they were born with, black? That's like trannies. They were born male and they want to be female, or born female and they want to be male, so they transition. They were born black and they got offered the opportunity to belong to a new ethnic group, rainbow. And they do every damn thing for the rainbow. And if you read the legislative action of the Black Caucus, it's 100% solid rainbow. They've done every damn thing they could possibly do to advance that, and not one damn thing to advance the black cause. That's our problem, and that's where we need to focus. Turn these bastards out, or at least get somebody in there influenced enough to start doing something like that. Now, that's where we're coming from. We're not anti-reparations. It's just the wrong way. Get the people in place that you need to do it.
I don't know what happened. I don't see Mia.
Well,
I don't know.
The group heard it.
Yeah. Well, I know you're speaking to everybody, not just her. I don't know what happened. Maybe she dropped down. But because I wanted her to respond to you. I guess I don't know. I'm not gonna say she ain't feel like hearing you talk. Maybe she was busy because she's out and about. So if she want to come back up, I'll bring her back up and she want to respond to you. But
First Amendment, it
yeah.
is
So
what it is.
but let me say this, because our News Toter held a space Sunday, and it was a quote unquote review of the space we had last week Tuesday, which was 6 hours. And it was really catered around reparations. I'm like, we're not talking about reparations again, because I gave it 6 hours. And the only reason why that space was about reparations, because the week prior, you had niggas upset over one of your tweets. So, and I don't know if she could still hear me. I don't know why she left out. Maybe she was busy. But if you're not busy, please come back up, because if you want to call my name out, then I'm going to respond respectfully. Yeah, I say niggas in my space, on my channel, and in other people's spaces, i.e., such as Shut Up. I don't say it in News Toter space because he has his rules and regulations, which I respect. I have my certain rules and regulations. I just don't want people saying the F word or whatever. So yeah, I say niggas, and I'm going to keep saying nigga because I can, because we don't have enough power or enough sense to actually have public policy push to put that under hate discrimination bill. So I can say nigga, nigga, nigga all day and still be monetized. And the problem that I have with niggas is you're focused on the wrong shit. You focus on how I talk to certain people or going back and forth with somebody on somebody's space, and then everything else just leaves your mind. Because I've never been anti-reparations. Never said it. She also said that you were Alaskan Native, and you're not. I don't know where she get that from. I see the Negro, and we have each other's numbers. You putting in my message below about the judge being a card carrying Choctaw, whatever, and he's also Black American. People don't have to justify to another person they goddamn lineage or who the fuck they are. If you want to ask the question to see where that person, how that person thinks or their ideology on a particular subject or situation, ask them. But if you don't like it, then you want to say, well, she's boule and you're not for this. He is a judge. He's been a judge longer than y'all seen him on TV. So you want Judge Joe Brown to be the leader of a reparation movement while you sit on your ass and do nothing? And what I mean by do nothing, you're not putting no type of financial backing, because you know it takes fucking money to get reparations. So this is all for Amina and everybody else who had issues with whatever the fuck I said in News Toter space and Shut Up space, or even in my own space and my own channel. So I said, anybody that got a problem with me, yeah, pull up. You have the floor to speak. I am going to rebuttal, and I will give you the last word. I don't know where the fuck she went. But when you start laying out facts to people and start spitting some actual wisdom and some philosophy and some scholarship, motherfuckers leave or they shut the fuck up. Now, I am saying fuck because I could say it. Nobody else can. Yes, I'm a content creator, and that is my focus. You know why? Because when people are running for office, when people have organizations, when people are doing reparations or anything else, you're going to need a fucking platform to get the word out. Hey, follow me here, support me here, donate to this. I want to get the word out. You need Black people in certain positions to help move your goddamn cause. So my focus is content / media, because the algorithm is very anti-Black. You don't know that because you're not in media. More organizations should be emailing me, hey, can I come on to promote this, whatever. I don't get those emails. Y'all don't reach out. You don't utilize situations to help whatever you claim that you're doing where you live at. So if you ain't doing shit and you the same niggas that want to come on X and talk shit, then you want to get in your feelings when I sit up here and run my motherfucking mouth. Because, yeah, I could be very much of an assassin with the words that come out my mouth. And I can't wait for Saturday. So when it's time for y'all to have a serious fucking conversation, you know where to be found. And when you do come up and you do talk, and it's all about, well, I don't like what you said, I stopped following you, I blocked you, bitch, I don't know you. So if you block me, I didn't notice it until you added me to talk shit, and I'm trying to respond to you, but then you want to go do the block. But outside of that, if you ain't talking real business, I don't fucking respect you. So I'll put that there for right now. If she come back up, I'm gonna give her the floor. If anybody else have a issue with me, you could come up and state your issue. FYI, I don't give a fuck. I don't care. So who's next? Immortal, Brooklyn, Professor, Black MAGA, Judge Sarah. Go ahead, Immortal. Is he still here? No. Brooklyn. Brooklyn.
Brooklyn.
Hey, come back to me in a few. I'm having some issues with the lock over here.
Okay.
Hey, Dana, it's Black MAGA. I just want to say, if that Amia girl comes back, I would like the chance to speak in rebuttal to what she said when she was here. Yeah.
I don't think she's gonna come back because she's the type that puts stuff out. She don't like what she hears, and she gonna go run away. Unless, and I could be wrong, unless because she was out and about. Unless she's out and about, she may be in her car, whatever. So it's one of the two. So if you want to hold out to see if she come back, you can, or you could speak when I. But I'm still want to come to you, so I have to go to Professor, and then it's you, and then it's Judge Sarah. So I go ahead.
I just had something to say to her, and that's it. And other than that, I'm listening. I'll raise my hand if I have something to say. Thank you.
Girl, misery loves company. That's just a miserable chick. She's just a miserable lady, honey. Misery loves company.
All right, Professor, you have the floor.
Thank you there, Dana. Thank you so much, and great space. Sister, I always try to come in your spaces. A lot of times just listen, but sometimes I will come up and speak. So I have no problem with you. You already know that. I love listening to what you and the judge have to say. So, Judge, I have a question for you. This is in reference to Joe Biden's capabilities to lead the country at this point. I'm wondering that is it possible for our Congress to make a move to remove him from the position, or is this just a situation where he have to say that I am no longer able to lead the country, and I can put this in the hands of Kamala Harris? So I mean, either or.
Okay.
What's the legal avenue here? Because I just don't think this man.
Okay.
I mean, the man's shitting all over himself. I mean, he goes over shitting on himself. Then he, and he, and then on top of the fact, he can't remember people's names. He's calling that guy Zelensky Putin. He's calling Putin Zelensky. He's calling Kamala Harris something else.
He's calling the Trump. Look here. You're talking about the 25th Amendment.
Yes.
Which
yes.
shows how to remove. There is a mechanism in place. It's a very, very recent amendment, and the mechanism's kind of clear. Here's what the Democratic Party's problem is. If they get Miss Word Salad Annie, the humping hyena Harris, that's a disaster. She is going to get slaughtered. But the problem is that if they get rid of Biden, they're going to have to keep Kamala Harris in on the ticket, either as the vice president again, because there's a little law problem. And that is, if Kamala Harris is not on the ticket, they have to give all the money they raised back, or get everybody that donated to give an agreement to redonate. That's kind of clumsy. Quite a few tens of millions of dollars involved. Now, who are they going to get? Newsom? Newsom's governor of the largest state in the union, but California is almost like a separate country. What they're doing out there, I think most of the rest of the states are not going to like. So there is that problem. Who would they pick? You see, there is a problem right now on the national level. You don't have leadership. And I don't look at what we have as black leadership. I look at we've got appointed or selected black overseers, but not leadership. Because most of these little cowardly punks, they ain't anywhere near close to being a leader. And it's been decades since we've had anybody on a national level that qualified as leadership. The same thing with white people. I'll give it to Bill Clinton. He kind of had the knack. Now, he had other problems, but Obama wasn't a leader. He was a chick flick matinee star. And the last person that's been in the office that had what it took to actually say, follow me, is running for that office again. That's Donald Trump. And quite frankly, he gets, I looked at it when it was going on, you know, the bullet hits, you can see the spray coming off his ear, which is typical of when a high velocity bullet hits somebody in bare flesh. You see a spray, it's mist, it vaporizes flesh. Shock is transmitted to the skull. He's stunned, he falls to the ground. But there's footage of him on the ground summoning up like his wits about him. And he gets up and he puts on one badass performance. They are trying to hold him down, meaning they be in the Secret Service. He's got the power fist going and he's yelling, fight. That's balls out stuff. Can't get any better than that. That's ass kicking, macho, John Wayne shit. Now, Biden would have probably shit his pants so bad that it'd be squishing all over the place when they picked him up and he'd be cowering. So you're gonna have to undo somebody that came up and acted like a brave man. And you also have the Providence thing. If it hadn't been for a breeze likely coming down that long stretch of open venue, a roadway actually, that was perpendicular to the stage, he'd be dead. The bullet drifted just not even an inch to his right in that 130-yard flight. And if it hadn't, he would have gotten hit square between the eyes. He'd be dead. So some people might say that's providence. It's a sign. He didn't get killed. He got wounded and he got to show he was a real live badass. That's the man. We have an omen. It's staring in front of everybody. This is who we need. I predicted when he first ran, I said he was going to give everybody in the Republican Party what they thought they wanted. And then he's going to get rid of them and take power in his hands because he says, hey, I gave you what you want, but they just couldn't cut it. So unfortunately, he got in too big a hole, and for a number of other reasons, with the mainstream media being against him and a lot of other stuff that was not cool. He lost, or let's put it this way, he didn't get in. But people are beginning to see the contrast and say, wait a minute, this is what we voted for? This is a farce. We got to get this guy back. He really wasn't that bad off. We were a lot better under him for 4 years than we were under this pamper shitting bozo. And we certainly don't want the humping hyena to get in here. We got buzzard bait Biden, you know, baiting for the vultures, ready to pounce when he croaks. And then we got the humping hyena, another scavenger out there trying to feast off of what's left over. So people don't want that. And somebody I know who's religious said we got sent a sign. We need to act on it. So take it for what it's worth. It is what it is, and I'll pass the mic.
Real quick, I don't know if you want to rebuttal, Professor. I see Amia came back up, and I said, I don't know if you
My
left to
turn. Before
eat.
y'all get into that, please,
Wait,
please.
girl,
Let
I
her
can't do
go.
the nigga babble. That's why I come at the end. I don't have the patience for the nigga babble.
I'm trying to understand. Every time when I press mute, it's like a double mute to mute people. Can everyone just stay on their mic? Whether it's nigga babble or not, I don't care. Stay on the mic, because I hate when people come off their mic and just cut people off when they're talking. I see it. I don't know what happened to Amia. Maybe you were busy and you had to jump off and come back in, because I wanted you to rebuttal to what the judge has said. So I will give you the floor to
She's
rebuttal.
back.
Yeah, I put her
Yeah,
up.
I'm so sorry.
So I had just
You're up.
unmuted. It takes a minute for the mute to go through.
I heard her speak.
Yeah, it takes a minute for the mute to
Yeah,
come off.
I'm so sorry. Yeah, we have storms here as well, so I keep getting booted off. Sorry for my janky connection right now. But no, let me just go to your title right quick. I used to be a vote blue no matter who. But when I realized Marcel for Congress 4 years ago woke me up, I'm in South Carolina. When I realized that we are voting for our demise, we are muling Dixiecrat cracker ass issues that don't belong to us. Don't care about no motherfucking illegal immigrant rights. I don't give a fuck about LGBTQ rights. And I
Can you lay
definitely,
off the fuck?
oh, sorry.
We get
Well, I
censored
didn't know what
on
kind of space you
YouTube.
have, Dana, because sometimes you use
Have
the N word,
mercy.
Well,
sometimes you
Have
cuss.
mercy. Have mercy.
Judge Sarah, no, everybody's still on their mic. On my space, when it's open mic, when people talk, they have the floor to talk without being interrupted, and you can't say the F. If the only person, if somebody gonna say F is gonna be me, but I even refrain from that.
No
So
problem. I understand.
no F.
Let me say this about the F word. We are also on YouTube, and YouTube is not exactly what you call First Amendment free
Right, I understand. I'll
or
reframe. I get
friendly.
it. Yeah, most
So they
definitely.
boot us every chance they get. All right.
No, I get it, and I don't want you to get a ding or a red flag for sure. So I'll lay off the cussing because I can get my point across without it. So like I said, I used to be a vote blue no matter who, but like I said, I've been voting for my demise. This year, I will not be voting blue. These people need to sit out. These Democrats need to sit out for 4 years and figure out how to come to the table and strike an economic deal with its most loyal base. Um, it is a it is a Biden boycott for year 2024 and possibly beyond. We are trying to get, again, reparations and deportations is the number two things that we want. As a reparations, I can only speak for myself, but that is the play. But yeah, the pushback though, Judge, this is the only thing, and it frustrates me because at the end of the day, you know how you just rattle off all these names, these people that should be willing participants for reparations for Black American freedmen, but kind of are too scary to do so, too individualistic to do so, too worried about that bank account to do so. I just think you've been in this more than you know a lot more than I do. I don't know everything. But what I do see is that for 30 plus years, you could have went, I think Cochrane was trying to get something involved after the, what is that? In 69, some report, I forgot the name of the report. It'll come to me later. You know, the U.S. government should have did it after that. You know, they know the harms. They know the failed Reconstruction, Jim Crow, land theft, all the genocidal harms. So we know the reasons for reparations, and no, we're not begging. But if you have all this clout and if you have all this prestige and we have not seen any receipts on your end, Judge, then I'm really second guessing, you know, should we still be listening to this information? But yeah, I welcome all pushback.
Okay, now I am blackballed. I don't have that clout. I did not get in because I went through Hollywood auditioning. I was the last judge on the James Earl Ray case. I came up with the conclusion, looking at all of the evidence, that the FBI set that up, recruited the two-man shooting team, supplied the weapon and ammunition, and James Earl Ray wasn't even in Memphis, okay? I'm the one that got a lot of national notoriety for sentencing that actually did some good about reforming the situation. I got the youngest person in the world on death row off and got a stay of execution, and on the grounds, one of the grounds, that he was tried by an all-white jury, I got his conviction unanimously overturned by the Arkansas Supreme Court. I had a lot of stuff going on. Now, that's how they came to me. They were interested in getting a draw, but it didn't work out like they wanted, and I quit. Okay, fine. But in terms of what you are looking for, do you really think that mainstream media in the United States of America is going to let you know what somebody's actually doing? Now, on the reparations front, I met Johnny Cochran in 1966. He was also a UCLA alumnus. We talked and we had each other's phone numbers. And this thing about reparations, we discussed. As I mentioned earlier, though you may have been knocked off the phone, my roommate, one of my best friends in life, who's no longer with us, I went to high school with him, played football with him. He and I were roommates. He was a lawyer doing one thing. We were in DC at the same time, 50 some years ago. We all talked and went over, had many a late night session on reparations. I talked with Johnny Cochran at great length, and this is when I had the show. We used to talk about it on the phone on reparations. He had his ideas, I had mine. But the problem is that we still could not firm up anything that necessarily dealt with a lawsuit. We had some ideas to contrive something, but it would take a whole lot of resources to do it. And we were trying to figure out how to get that done. Now, I'm 77 years old. I don't have a law office. I don't have secretaries. I don't have malpractice insurance. I don't have a research library right now. And I frankly am not going to take the time to go get up and deal with the reparations in terms of filing any lawsuit, because it's not going to happen right now. I put my law license in an inactive status because I didn't feel like taking 16 college unit hours a year to keep it. Now, somebody else, if they have the acumen, they have the wisdom, and they have the resources, might want to talk to me about it, and I'll be glad to help them. Because you don't hear it doesn't mean it's not done. So you are taking what in equivalent is the equivalent of trying to prove a negative. Prove to me you didn't do it. Or prove to me you did do it when nobody was making an effort to try and set the stage, because that's not why we do these things. So if you want to know about affirmative action, I helped write the first affirmative action program in the nation. That was back in 1966, 1967. I set up the Black History, helped set up the Black History program back at UCLA back in the 60s. We did a lot of things out in the streets, but you don't advertise some of these things. Give you an example. I was attending a UCLA Black Law Student Alumni Association meeting, and they were talking about all of the fallout from the civil rights movement and how nonviolence led to so many Black people being at UCLA Law School. That's a lie. now deceased retired judge, who was at UCLA Law School, took his 357 Magnum Colt Python 4-inch barrel, cocked it, put it to the dean's head, and said he'd had till he counted 5 before he killed him if he didn't sign this order that would bring more black folk into school. But do you think we were going to talk about that while he was still alive? Or even publish that kind of thing and let it be known what else was going on? No, we don't do that.
I agree.
You
Moving
see, a lot of
silence.
what needs to, you see what I'm talking about?
Yes, sir.
We
Oh, the
don't talk
report I was
about
talking
that kind
about.
of stuff.
Oh, sorry. It was the Kerner Commissioner report. What do you know about that?
I know a lot about it. I was in a DC think tank and we studied this kind of stuff. The Kerner report was interesting, but there is more to it than meets the eye. There was a big fear off of the fact that ordinary black people who were not politically motivated but were just angry were burning down the cities in America at a rate that matched what the Army Air Force was doing in Nazi Germany in World War II. We went through 60,000 pages of the congressional record to discover the motivation for why they came up with a lot of stuff. Kerner report, all kinds of things. And the main driving engine was not civil rights. It was 60,000 pages we went through or so. All but about 4 or 5 of them were talking about the destructive potential that was inherent in black folk if something wasn't done to bring them into the picture. The Kerner Commission had the wrong people studying it because the people that they commissioned to do something about studying the problem were in fact a great deal of the problem. So
I'm sorry, I don't know.
it's politics.
I just want to interject something because I know Black MAGA wanted to rebuttal Amia, and then I'm gonna go to Judge Sarah.
Well,
But
I'll pass the mic.
yeah, but I just have one question for Amia, then I'm gonna go to Black MAGA because I shadow Amia. You said that the judge, I guess, talks or whatever, but he never showed receipts or he's never done this. My question is, who told you he never done anything? Because you just assumed. And why do you think it has to just be one person leading a charge? It actually takes an ecosystem of a whole lot of people that have to get involved when we're talking about reparations and restitution. So where did you get that from, that he hasn't done anything?
If I said specifically he hasn't done anything, that was a misspoke. My thing is this: there are no subsequent receipts on reparations push, and I know it doesn't take just one person. It'd be foolish to have just one person because that's a big target on that person's back. It takes a village. But my thing is this: he knows a lot of people that were heavy into this reparations push, about getting cash and land back to the deserved descendants. My thing is this: where is the receipts? Where is the legislation? Y'all are judges. Y'all know the law back and
We
forth.
can look.
Judges don't pass
But they
legislation.
We
influence it,
don't
Dana.
pass
They
that.
No, they
influence
do
it.
not.
No,
No, they
Yes,
do
y'all do.
not.
You influence it.
No,
You have a
they
lot of
It's a
do not.
influence.
democratic
Time out.
ideology. You got
No,
your hand
they
out waiting for
do
somebody
not.
else to
And
do
Time
the
that's the
out.
fucking
problem
work.
that
Time
That's a
out.
Judge,
democratic
shut the fuck up,
ideology.
you
Let
weirdo
me put my
judge.
All right,
You
fucking
weirdo
hand down.
ass.
Let everybody.
all right, stop.
Time out.
Everybody else
Time
stop.
out.
Let me just put my
Time out.
hand down. Let
There,
everybody else do the work for me. Why they ain't working for me? That's why the fuck y'all on a fucking plantation.
This is
look.
a delay when I mute people. It's a delay
Okay,
mute. It's a
now
delay to unmute.
let me just say this: there is a ethical code that applies to judges. You're not supposed to get involved in advocating for legislation that is outside the realm of improving the legal system. All right? We are not in that. we are the people who determine whether a law has been broken, whether the law is to be applied. We make the decisions on the outcomes, but we have absolutely nothing to do with the law. I have never been in that social circle with the people you're talking about. They hate my guts because I have always said, when you keep talking about what you can't do because you don't want to ruin your chances, all that'll happen when you get in a position to do something is you'll be too old and too damn tired. Do something. And I always was with a small group of people who said, we got someplace and we didn't cop out. Now you're talking about putting it on the line. That James Earl Ray thing and Martin Luther King, that wasn't without consequences. One particular morning at about 3:30 a.m., there was a break-in at my house. There were 30 shots exchanged in a shootout with 5 people who were trying to kill me behind that shit. Fortunately, I survived. I don't think all of them did. I called the director of police. His name was Renfrey. He's now dead. He came out with another detective, now dead, who was a former client. We investigated what was going on. They turned the dispatcher's tape off 30 minutes before this went down and 45 minutes afterwards. Blood trails all over the place. And nobody had checked into a hospital. This stuff doesn't come easy when you start doing stuff. They will take your life. But they didn't get mine because I've been in martial arts for a long, long time, and that includes the art of getting your John Wick on. Now, they didn't shoot me. I shot them. 5 of them. So we have these things that happen behind the scenes that you just don't go out and start publicizing all the time. Look what I just did. So when you start talking about leaving a track, as somebody just alluded to, it's on you too. It ain't just your leader.
I completely
Stop
agree.
being a Negro.
Ooh,
And I'm not necessarily saying you,
I was about
but
to say.
we need to stop being Negroes who expect somebody to do it for us. Get your own ass up and start doing it.
And that's what I'm
These are
doing.
the
And
most
that's what we're doing. We're making
passive
waves.
folk I
And guess
have
what? We are
ever
making
seen in
waves.
my life.
And guess what? We are making waves within this past 4 years.
Look.
Go ahead.
Let me tell you something.
Mhm.
I've seen it. This is the 3rd time I've seen it. You are not doing all of that. This is not the most vigorous effort I've seen. So get over it and start doing it harder. You're not doing what was done the last time.
And you're not
That
helping
was
when
some.
you don't. And you're not
I
helping
helped
when
you.
you don't get out of
He
your
just
comfort
helps you,
zone.
but he's
I'm
advising
not
you for
trying to
free.
pat
He's
you
Shut
helping
on
you
the
up,
by
back.
Judge.
advising you for
Shut up.
free,
Nobody's
and you
talking
don't
to
need
you,
no
I
you
weirdo.
ain't
don't need
your
no
Shut up,
goddamn
pay for
weirdo
that.
mama.
ass.
See how much
And
you
my
got to
job
pay
is
your
not
lawyer?
to pat you on
Get
your
on your
hand
mic. I
when
need
you're in
everybody to stay
elementary
on their
school.
mic.
My
Please.
apologies. I
Listen.
got impulse control issues. I'm sorry.
I know
Okay,
you
look.
Judge Sarah.
I'm
I know
not
you
your
do.
mama. I'm not your mama, and it's not my job to pat you on the back of your hand and say, there, child.
And
It'll
don't,
be all
hey, and
right.
don't
That ain't
think I'm
my
coming
job.
off as you want. I don't want you to pat us, but what I do want you to
All
do
I'm
is be
saying is
realistic and
get
be real
on
with
your
us. You
job.
want us to
Wait,
listen to you on that
Get
front.
on
stop.
your
All right,
job.
wait,
I
stop.
got some
1 second,
realistic.
Tamika.
You
Is
want
it
us to
my
listen to
turn?
you on
I
that
got
One
some
front.
second.
realism.
1
What
second.
your
Now
generation,
I gotta mute. I
what
gotta mute everyone now. I gotta mute everybody now. Like I think. Listen. I need to go to Black MAGA because Black MAGA wants
well, I'm gonna
to push
finish up
back.
in a second.
Yeah, no, you can finish up, Judge, and I'm gonna go to Black MAGA. Black MAGA she wants to push back to Amia. Then I'm gonna go to Judge Sarah. Then Black Native, and then I'm gonna go back to the hands because I have to go back to Brooklyn if he's ready to speak. And then I see Sexy Rye and Real Queen.
Okay, last comment, very brief one. You don't ask for this shit. You get in a position to compel it. And right now, this generation that is operating is not compelling shit. They're talking a lot.
After all those studies, after all those disparity studies that is done in every state every 5 to 10 years, that's not enough compelling. After all those studies, y'all
No,
can't
it's
get it.
not, because it's no goddamn
So what does that
consequence. It's
tell
like
you then,
looking at a
sister?
fucking
Use your
movie.
brain. Use your
All right,
It's
brain.
stop.
like
I
a
Who's
want
gonna
to go
goddamn
to
do it?
Black
movie.
How
Maga.
you gonna get
I
it
want to go
done?
to. I want
Who's
to go
the
to Black
decision?
Maga. Stop, Judge. Stop. Go ahead, Black Maga.
Yeah, I
Judge, go
pass
play
the
in
mic.
traffic.
It's up to you to do it.
Go ahead, Black Maga.
Thank you, Dana. Amia, I have something to say to you, and I'm going to ask that you please don't interrupt me while I'm speaking. I don't know where you're getting these ludicrous ideas about Dana and Judge Joe, but I think you're sadly mistaken. And as far as not being serious about reparations, I think the same thing can be said of most Negroes hollering reparations now, because near one of y'all hitting all these talking points that you cited, which is really what's performative as goal of securing reparations. Y'all waiting on
And Judge
somebody
ain't
else
either,
to do it
bitch.
for
And
you.
Judge ain't
No,
either.
y'all waiting on somebody else to do it for you. And furthermore, most of y'all expect to get reparations by either voting for the same Democrat Party that enslaved our people and keep us enslaved through the privatized prison system and the welfare state, or you're resolving to sit out the vote, thinking you some revolutionaries, opting for the
Ain't
couch.
nobody said nothing about sitting out.
Hold on.
So come
And
again.
holding
No,
out.
let
Come
her
Talking
finish.
again.
about you
Let her
holding
finish.
out. Talking about y'all holding out for so-called tangibles, right? Which is actually a very counterproductive strategy. So unless you're about to vote for Trump to secure the border, you really have no place speaking at all about reparations or about who's fake and who's real. Because until we tackle the problem of illegal immigration, these Democrats are going to keep using illegals to undermine us and to replace the black vote, so that we'll have no political leverage left to negotiate reparations with. And the inflation under another Democrat administration will be so high that it will drive down the market and the value of the dollar so far that even if we did get reparations, that money would be so devalued that you could wipe your ass with it. Because the truth is, these Democrat reparations task force that been hollering about HR 40 for the past 50 years, and these committees, Democrat reparations committees, are what's really been totally performative and fake and counterproductive. But instead of calling them out for it, here you are coming up in here disrespecting the OG who's done more for the Black Power movement than anybody you know. That's called hypocrisy, honey. And you're misguided. You are
Take
a
your
lost
cape off for these
soul.
old end
Hold on.
vampires,
Don't
lady.
interrupt
And
me,
don't
Miss Amia. Judge Joe is not naysaying, nor is he finger wagging about reparations, okay? He's simply saying he ain't finna hold his breath waiting on it. And if you are, then you a goddamn fool. Judge Joe, I might add, is an incredibly pro-Black and a highly resourceful individual. He's extremely reputable, and he has shown his receipts. He's in good standing with our community. And you have the nerve to fix your mouth to call him boule when he's a whole Trump
lady, just
supporter?
cause
Hold on, baby, because you don't know
Let
what
her
boule
finish. Don't
is.
interrupt
No,
stop
her.
muting
let
me just
me
because you in
finish.
your feelings because
Because
I
I
said something
guarantee you,
because
No,
I
I
let
pushed
her
against
guarantee
you.
you
finish.
boule
Let
is a
her
Democrat
finish.
orchestrated
Let her
collective
What you
of
finish.
got against the
ruthless
Boule?
I'm not
What they
voting for
do to
Democrats.
you?
Are
They
you
went to
Judge
retarded?
college
Joe
and
is
Do you
not.
listen? Are you fucking
better
Honey,
they
retarded? Do
got
you
something
fucking
you don't
listen?
have.
you
What
gonna hold
the fuck
out
is
and
wrong with the
listen,
Boule?
because I'm not finished
Shut the fuck
speaking.
up,
Don't
bitch.
interrupt.
It's too much. Listen, Amita, when you was talking, no one didn't interrupt you. Nobody. Black MAGA is rebuttaling you. When she's done, you could talk. Stop. And Judge, stay on your mic.
I'm on my
No,
Just
mic.
not
I'm
Sarah,
not
you,
just
Judge
Sarah.
saying
You
Sarah.
anything.
know,
Judge
just
Black
Sarah
Sarah.
has
MAGA.
these
Ain't
folks
nobody
control
voting for
issues. I'm sorry.
Democrats. I am voting for
I want the fake judge to stay on her mic, just for clarity. It's only one real judge up here, and I ain't talking about him. So everybody stay on your mic. I want Black MAGA to finish up.
Do you really want her to finish up? Ain't
Okay,
nobody
so
voting
you
for
talking
ain't
about
nobody.
No, I do want her to
Well,
finish
I
up.
don't. Ain't nobody voting for
And,
Democrats.
I
Hello,
don't
where have
care
you
if
been? I
you
said I'm
don't,
not voting
because
for
you came
them.
up here.
Yo,
You
dumbass.
came up here. You had smoke for me. You had smoke for the judge, right?
I got smoke for you, Dana, because you are content.
Now, wait, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You had smoke for me, and that's fine. I'm gonna get to that in a minute, because when I did rebuttal, you wasn't up here, so I'm gonna get to that in a minute. But you had smoke for the judge, not just tonight, but the other night or whatever. And there's all these misconceptions. So if you could bring the heat to him, then someone could bring it to you. But you will have the floor to rebuttal. But at the same time, it is Black MAGA's time to have the floor. You may not like what she's saying, but she has the floor. And I don't want anybody interrupting her.
Oh, okay. I'll rebuttal after then. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so you say you voting for Trump, Amia. Congratulations. Welcome to the revolution, sweetheart. But if you voting for Trump at this point, you should be intelligent enough to know that Boule, the black Boule that you are talking about and that you are asserting that Dana and Judge Joe are a part of, is a Democrat orchestrated collective of sellouts, which Judge Joe and Dana are not. And in fact, the Black Boule and Black Trump supporters are two separate, mutually exclusive groups, okay? The term Black Boule Republican or Black Boule conservative or Black Boule Trump supporter is oxymoronic. It doesn't exist, okay? Not every educated, successful Negro is a boule. So you got the game all the way twisted. And for you to come up in here and disrespect Dana on her own damn platform, calling her all out her name, calling the judge all kind of misnomers, shows that you have. But you are all talk and you sound like a whole agent and a reformed Democrat. So again, at this point, if y'all are still willing to work with Democrats and make a deal with those white devils and their Black Boule pet coons to get reparations despite what we know about them, then you're the real sellout. So keep pushing this MAGA shit, because that's your hope.
Okay, weirdo, you're the one pushing MAGA. Nobody said they were MAGA. I'm only voting for Trump because it's reparations and deportations. The fact that I have smoke for Dana and for Judge, I can tell you got in your feelings because you came up and you had so much, stuff to say about what I've been saying to them, not to you, to them. So at the end of the day, like I said, you were blocked last year. After this, you're going to be blocked again, because you're just not genuine. And if you have people like Black MAGA woman, that can't even understand the fact that Black Boule plays footsie with Republicans in my state and every other state, bitch, you got it twisted, retarded ass hoe. And great space though altogether. Besides all the back and forth and the discourse, great space. I did learn a lot, but again, you're going back on block, Dana. Judge, you're not blocked.
There's a difference between a real Republican.
Hold on for a second. So let me just mute. Yeah, I said this, but you had your thing had dropped out. So you wasn't.
And stay off your
space.
mic. Stay on your mic, Black MAGA.
I did say this. I did say I don't give a fuck if you block me, because I don't know you. When you did block me, I didn't know, because I'm not following you. I don't know you, nor do I care. I don't even know what you look like. So when people say I block you, y'all got to understand, people who you block don't care because they don't see it. Like, you're obsessed. And going back to what the judge said, when it comes to stop waiting for someone to give you something or lead you or fight for you, get your ass up and do it. Getting on X 24/7 is not fighting for your cause. So again, all that block shit is for the birds. I don't give a fuck. I don't know you. But if you have a problem with what I said, okay, you have a problem with what I said. I'm not trying to persuade anybody to agree with me. You don't have to. We can have discourse. But if you're trying to say, well, I shouldn't say this, or I talk too much, or I say nigga this, nigga that, yes. And I'm not going to change. I said that in News Total Space on Sunday. What I say is what the fuck I say. What I do is what I do, because I can. I don't care if you like it or not. So you can block till your fucking thumb fall off. I don't care. So stop with the block shit. If you want to talk about business, that's fine. If you want to be respected, then you need to stand on your square and talk about the goddamn business and not what a man who's 77 has done his whole fucking life that you and a whole bunch of other people would never match. So you not phasing nobody with saying the block or calling people stupid or whatever. I don't find, because I'm with the shits too. And I'm too ratchet and ghetto to be boule. That's number one. And also, I know a lot of black so-called boule that's really down for black people. So y'all think of boule like, oh, they're all coons and they sell out black people. No, that's just a black person who's a fucking sellout. You don't gotta be boule to do that. Because I see black people who are not boule selling black people out. I see fucking Pan-Africanists selling black people out every fucking day. So get off that black boule shit. And you need to look at the individual that's doing the dirty deeds against black Americans. Now that's some real shit for your ass. Now, I'm gonna go to Judge Sarah, and then I got Black Native Art. Charles, I see you in queue, but it's not enough space. You gotta give me a minute. I gotta swing back to Brooklyn night. So all that block
Yeah.
shit, I don't
Well,
give a
well,
fuck.
I would think you would want to who blocked you because you're so concerned with numbers.
No,
That's all you're
I don't
worried
want
about.
why.
That's all you're worried about with numbers. And then at the end of the day, you give me Caribbean Tether vibes. I don't
Why
even
do
think
you
you're from the
argue with
lineage at this
miserable
point in time.
people? She's miserable.
Shut the fuck up,
She's
Dad.
miserable.
Retarded
Can
ass
you
toe
not know what
bag.
miserable?
Shut the fuck up, bitch.
She's
Judge,
lonely
I
and
need
she's
you to stay
miserable.
on.
Come
Judge,
on
you need
now.
to stay on your mic.
Come on, please.
Judge needs. Oh my God, what the fuck, yo? Why can't you stay on your mic? That ADD is kicking in. God
Ladies,
damn.
let's be
I want
polite with
I want
each
to
other,
ask Amia.
please.
I want to ask Amia a question. Why should I care if you block me?
Is it my turn yet?
No, it's not.
Oh, you have to unblock me so I can speak.
Dana, real
Judge, have
real
you
quick,
took your
I
medicine
just
No,
want
yet?
to say
it
And
is.
Amia
Dana,
needs
and
to
Dana, to answer
understand
your
that when
question,
she
Judge,
comes
have you
in
took
here
your
and
medicine yet?
disrespects you and
Judge, have
Judge
you took your
Joe, she's
medicine yet? Black, shut
disrespecting
the fuck
all of
up.
us. She's
Dana, to ask your
disrespecting
question,
our
shut
people.
up.
So you
So
really
you can
need
be
to hold
ratchet.
it
So you can be
down. You
ratchet.
really
So
need
you
to
can be
sit
ratchet to
down,
all the other
stand
people.
down,
You can be
sit
ratchet to all the
all
other
the way
people.
down, take
And
that
Judge, you take your medicine yet?
disrespect.
Black, shut the fuck
Take
up.
their
Let me
Dana,
ask Amia
disrespect.
a question.
Dana, to answer
Let
your
me ask
question,
Amia a
to answer your
question.
question, I would
Why should
think,
I
Misery
I would
care?
loves
think that you would
company.
care about being
Why should
blocked
I
because you care
care
about your
if you
numbers.
block
You
me?
care about who's your
Do you
followers. You
not
care about
see
your
that she
numbers.
wants to
You're a
argue about
content creator
anything?
only.
That's miserable
Judge, have you took your
writing.
Judge? Have you
That's
took your medicine
misery.
yet?
That is
Judge, have you took your medicine yet?
misery.
You old weirdo ass.
That's
You the one.
miserable
You the one who
misery.
sleep white,
Misery
you dumbass.
miserable.
Judge, I'm about to drop you if you don't shut the fuck up.
Drop that hoe. And that's what we can agree on. Drop
No,
that hoe.
and this is what we're not going to do. We're not going to call somebody a whole stupid. We don't do that here. We that's for shut up. Shut up is for the projects. That's Saturday. That's shut up space. I say that's the
Ladies,
shut
can
up
we
space.
act like ladies? Can we act like ladies, please?
All right, so she dropped out. I wanted to ask the question on why I should care if she blocked me, because obviously she don't know how algorithm numbers work. She talking about some following. Bitch, this is X. I don't give a fuck about the X algorithm. My numbers count on YouTube. And I'm lit. I'm up. Period. Just Sarah, go ahead. And you got 1 minute.
Dana, I have more than 1 minute.
Yeah, but you've been coming off your mic.
Dana,
Every
Dana,
time
and
I
some
go through
things
this
I
with
want
you
to
every
say, and I
time,
come all the
every
time,
space.
Dana. I come late because I just, you know what, something I want to say from 2 spaces ago, and every time I come, it's too late. And I'm so sorry. I appreciate that you are patient, Dana. You have the patience of Job, but I just don't have it, the bandwidth for the ignorance, and I'm so sorry. Listen, Judge Joe Brown, how you doing, Judge Joe Brown? I've been wanting to ask you a question and talk to you about this since you were talking about reparations. I came late, Dana, and you mentioned something about following you, and I didn't realize I wasn't following you. But I want to say this. I want to talk about this. First of all, you know what is really very disheartening is the treatment of Judge Joe Brown. You know, I go in. Yeah, y'all know I just get emotional. Like I gotta get in check on my emotions because I'm not gonna be able to withstand the things that I gotta do just being so emotional. I love black people,
Yeah,
and
just
I'm
count to
embarrassed.
10,
I love
please.
black people. I love black people, and
Stay on your
and
mic.
I'm embarrassed by this. Um, okay, I want to say this to you first of all to the room. I've been in mainstream rooms. I've been in MAGA rooms. I've been in political rooms, and you will not believe the respect Judge Joe Brown get from the audience in that room. And it's so hurtful and disrespectful that y'all don't even realize who this man is. The wisdom that he has, the fact that he comes in these rooms every week and he shares wisdom that a judge of his caliber will probably charge you $800, $900 an hour to listen to him. It's crazy to me. But Judge Joe Brown, what brought me up is that you said something about getting reparations via judiciary. And that's kind of what I want to talk about. I want to begin with talking about reparations and the efforts, and specifically from the Democrats. My concern is that it's a lot of people in this room, a lot of people in this space. They talk about reparations, but they never discuss the path to get there. And realistically, do you understand that in order to get in Congress legislated, groups, certain people, X number of people have to approve it? And you want to know why it hasn't happened? First of all, people do things in this country for mutual beneficial relationship. If Negro people had power, you would have got your reparations probably at least 50 years ago. Okay. And I talked about Judge Joe Brown and the disrespect because they see you, they see us, they see who we are, and they don't have any reason to give you reparations. You have no power. You have no power based on how you talk to this man. This is Judge Joe Brown. I come in his room. I was a fan from TV. I'm an old broad. I come in the room and he just dropped. He said something about judges not being participating or being swayed about legislation. That's another jewel that he helped me with. And you know what, Dana, please forgive me. I want to say this, and I got to be calm because this is upsetting, and it upsets me because I want Black people to live in harmony. I want Black people to be happy. I want Black people to have everything that we deserve since they brought us here. And my heart races. I get angry because I think, can I help them? What can I do? Going back to reparations. In order for you to get reparations, y'all screaming this reparations, reparations. Do you know how you're going to get it done? When you want to do something, you have strategy. You identify how you get it done. If you actually think that you're going to get X number of Democrats to repair you, to give you money, these same Democrats that live off you, $28 billion for homelessness. I spent my whole day feeding a homeless lady and go buying her shoes in the state of California. $28 billion on homelessness, and they don't know where the money is, but you think they're gonna give you reparations. That's real funny. Okay, I do have an interest in reparations. I learned that coming here. And my interest is for secession, non-repetition, and rehabilitation. Okay. I would not be mad at restitution, but this is a fucking America and the money out here to get. If you don't know how to go get it, you might want to fucking read a book and learn how to go get it.
Yeah, lay off that F
Okay, I'm sorry,
word.
sis. Judge Joe Brown, I want to ask you a question. My question was regarding, you said through a judiciary, and that's my plan. Okay. What my belief is that America is anti-Black. Not white supremacy, that America's anti-Black, that we are not equal, that every other unit are benefiting off of the 14th Amendment that was enacted, I think, in 1868 when they freed slaves. So my position, Judge Joe Brown, is that Black Negro people are not equal in this country. Okay. What my intention is to do is hold the state of California liable for anti-Black hate crimes against me. This includes judicial officers, 2 different law enforcement agencies, the California Commission on Judicial Performance, the court reporter, the Board of Judicial something or other. I got probate. I got so many. Even the reparations task force are a party to the cover up. And it's funny you said that about the judge, because Judge, if you Google Judge Lawrence Riff, who he is. the California Reparations Task Force, if you're not smart enough to understand, this is what happens. They say, we're going to make a program. We're going to put $12 million to here. And we get money. And they do nothing. They give you nothing. I'm in California. I'm a New Yorker in California. The Black people here are pitiful and they're suffering. And a lot of it has to do with their psychology, how they treat each other, how they don't respect each other. And I'm sorry, Dana, you be holding it down. But when I come in here and I hear these people talking to this man the way they do, and then they wonder why they don't respect us. And you think they're gonna repair you and give you something. And people do things for reasons because they get something in return. We don't have no power, but what we gonna give them? So what I'm trying to say, how are you going to get reparations? So many people have to say yes. Realistically, do you think these people are going to say yes? Saying yes to them might possibly make them lose their job, their position. I mean, I'm so sorry. I get so angry. This is America. You get 12 years of education and the thought and the ideas. And regarding the Democratic Party, they lie to you. Pamela Harris on Twitter, they when they check you and say it's not true, they lie to you every day. They lie to you about shit you could just fucking Google. This is how much they don't.
I just say to lay off the F word?
I'm so sorry. You know what, Judge Joe Brown, I'm so sorry. I'm not being a lady in your presence. Please forgive me. I'm so sorry. But Judge Joe Brown, did you hear what I said? So my question is, I want to know your opinion regarding what I'm saying. My first step is to demonstrate that California is anti-Black. I'm a victim of government-sanctioned terrorism and attempted genocide. And multiple court officers, governmental agencies, it's my position that California knows it's not benign neglect, it's malignant neglect. It is my belief that California is aware that the government, the state, the governor, they're aware that there is an anti-Black consciousness and unconsciousness, and we are not equal, and no one has done anything to make us equal. So I'm not looking for 300, 400 people to say yes. I'm going to put my evidence before a judiciary and demonstrate that California is anti-Black. And I need repair, and I need restitution, and I need secession and non-repetition, if that makes sense. So can you give me your opinion on, because you said that you can't do it through a court, and I want to understand why not.
Okay, problem with the courts is caught up with stuff like statutes of limitations and who are you going to sue. And if you have personal injury, which is basically what it's all about, the right to compensation for a personal injury dies with the perpetrator, unless it's a wrongful death situation. It certainly usually dies with the person who is the victim. But if I can give you some affirmative direction,
I'm still alive, and so is the perpetrator.
This, yeah, okay. I would suggest that if you have a grievance based on what you are saying, you might get some guidance if you go look at the California Constitution as it applies to, of all things, believe it or not, the University of California. And there's language in there about the purposes of setting up leadership and how the state of California must do certain things for its, quote, colored brethren, unquote, so recently escaped from slavery. And if you read what's in there, it might give you some ideas. And what you're indicating on, I'm not giving you advice, it's just a suggestion.
Opinion. I just want an opinion. Opinion, maybe. Is that better to say opinion?
Well, legal education would be more close.
I appreciate that. I understand.
Something to look into. If you read the logic and the reasoning that's in the California Constitution about why there is a need to do something to set up community-based leadership in, they call it colored, but Black community, and what they're trying to overcome, you might find some guidance in there that would give you perhaps something that you might be able to use in a court today. Maybe.
I
I was
understand, but
just
I want to
thinking
be
about
clear.
it.
Do you understand that my position is the harm that I
I
incurred
got
was
it.
due to because I am a descendant of chattel slavery. That all that I've or the
Yeah.
trauma that I've incurred for the past 5 years, I am going to demonstrate that I was harmed through multiple court officers that they worked in concert together
Yeah,
to, and
I
it
got
all
you.
relates
You
to that I am a descendant of chattel slavery, and this is why it continues to happen, and it's why it did happen to bring awareness. Because do you understand? I want to do it through a judiciary.
I
Okay.
got you. You've broken it down for me before, in a sense. But here's where you could get it. California never allowed slavery. It came into the Union as a slave-free state. But the reasons that they gave in the California Constitution for coming in as a free state still apply. And if somebody is violating those reasons, that may give you grounds to proceed.
Repeat that one more
I
time so I can write it down, please. I heard you, and I think it's very
okay,
valuable what you just said. Please say it again.
okay. California came into the Union in 1851 as a slave-free state. What the California Constitution says about that should could possibly give you some guidance to proceed right now. Because if somebody is violating those precepts, you might have an action.
So what I hear you
I think
saying
the
is they denied slavery because they didn't want specific actions, behaviors, or harm. Is that what I hear you saying? I
yeah.
appreciate you so
Now,
much.
the place where I think in the California Constitution that it most clearly states that is in the section covering the University of California. And it starts off, it talks about the Hispanic, well, the Mexican brothers and the Mexican gangs. It talks about Chinese tongs and gangs, and it talks about colored people and how they need leadership and how the state's policy is to prohibit such things as were happening in slavery from being perpetrated in California. So that might give you some language and an approach. I haven't looked at it in years, but it strikes me as something that you might look to.
I'm excited about it, and I appreciate you so much. Into the room, I'm trying to make, as goes California, as goes the rest of the country. I'm trying to make California be the test grounds for what I'm trying to do for Black people. I understand that we're not equal. I understand the harm that happens to Black men every day, how they kill Black men. They harm Black women and steal Black babies for profit, but you keep looking outside yourself for remedy. The remedy is right here in this room amongst us. Thank you, Judge Joe Brown, and thanks for putting up with me my cursing, Dana. I apologize.
Yes, thank you, Judge Sarah. All right, so I'm going to Black Native. I hope I said it right because I want to say Nativity, but I think it's Native. Let me when I come to you, just correct me. And then Art, and then I'm gonna go back to Brooklyn and then swing to the other hands if anybody want to say anything else, and then we'll just close out. In other words, I'm not taking any more new speakers because I want to stay under 4 hours. So go ahead, Black Native. I said it right?
Yeah, you said it right,
Okay,
Dana.
thanks.
Hey, Dana. Hey, Judge Joe.
How are you?
Hi there.
Hey, I had two questions. One, I was in the space the other night, and we were having a discussion about Michelle possibly running. We were just throwing out scenarios, and it came up that I brought the question up. I said, okay, say if Michelle runs, right, and she picks Obama to be her vice president. And then and then somebody said that he would be able to become president again, say if something happened to her, and serve a third term. And I believe we were reading the 22nd Amendment, either it was the 12th or the 20th, I believe it was the 22nd Amendment. Is that possible? for a
Well,
president who served 2 terms
what
to
it
become?
says is
Hmm.
the way there are several ways of reading it.
Hmm.
One, the most, I don't want to say popular, but the current most persuasive way of looking at it is a president could serve a term of 10 years. In other words, if he was the vice president and the president died or became disabled or removed under the 25th Amendment,
Hmm.
he could serve 2 more years. And if he had not exceeded 2 years in the term, he could be elected to 2 full terms, which would equal 10 years. If he got in for 3 years because of the death or infirmity of the president to whom he was vice president, he would have that 3 years. That would be more than two, and he could get elected to one more term for a total of 7 years. I don't think that if you take that majority reading of that amendment, the 22nd, he could come back, be vice president, because if the president became disabled or died, meaning his wife,
Hmm.
he would be in a situation where if there were only 2 years left in the term, it would be okay. But there might be three, in which
Hmm.
case it would be not, because the total would be 11 years. So that would knock him out of being able to be president to his wife, which domestically, that ain't supposed to work. So
Okay. Okay, I got you. So, and basically, a president can only serve up to 10 terms,
10
regardless to
years,
whatever.
10
I mean,
years,
10
10
years.
years.
I'm sorry. 2 terms and a half, pretty
Yeah,
much.
2.5 terms. Now,
Okay.
what I was thinking that the Democrats had in store,
Mm-hmm.
and I have predicted this for years, they want Biden to be reelected. And after he's been in 2 years, to resign. So Humping Hyena gets in for 1 day less than 2 years, so she can run again and potentially serve for just about 10 years, which is a disgusting thought to me. And by
I
the
don't
way,
see.
let
Yeah.
me let me say what I think is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Now that things are opened up, somebody's going to dig up what her father wrote. Her father wrote that she was a liar and a fraud. She claims to be black, and the person she's claiming to be black through is her paternal her paternal great grandmother. And that's her father's grandmother. And he says, my grandmother was not black. She was a swarthy Hindu house servant.
Mm.
So if daddy says, I have no black in me, I'm Caucasian, I am Irish mixed with Hindu Caucasian, and mama's a Caucasian. She's a Hindu Brahmin caste. He
Mm-hmm.
says he's Hindu Brahmin caste, and his grandmother was a Tamil Hindu. Then how does she get to be black other than just lying about it? Which is why he wrote the article. He wasn't quoted. He wrote it. He called her a liar and a fraud.
Yes, she doesn't get to be black, and that's the problem.
Now
Joe
that will
Biden.
come
Joe
out in
Biden.
the race.
Yeah, yeah, she's East Indian. She's an Asian East Indian. That's what they said the day after she won her election. The whole time she was running, it was black girl magic, and she was black. And within 24 hours, she was East Asian. So, and then I saw her birth certificate. The father put he was Jamaican, and the mother, or either was her, classified as white. She's never been black. And then Joe Biden said yesterday, it was either today or yesterday, about the black jobs. I'm doing my quotes with my hand quotes. I know what the black jobs are. The vice president, she's black and she has a black job. And then he threw Obama in there. So it's just like insult to injury. It's just the disrespect. This man is old. He's decrepit. Yeah, the Congress needs to sign. What was that you said? The 25th Amendment, and get him out of office. Second thing.
That can be, by the way, that can also be evoked by his cabinet or his vice president.
So what is she waiting on?
Yeah. Now, here's how this thing got influenced historically. President Wilson, a Democrat, the bastard that signed the executive order officially segregating Washington, D.C., he was from Virginia. He was a college professor at the University of Virginia. He suffered a stroke. In those days, the wife pretty much had say-so on who had access to a sick husband. She kept him on the second floor of the White House, restricted access, and would bring down stuff that she supposedly copied down that he told or ordered. It was long suspected that she was acting as president, not her husband, who was totally incapacitated with a stroke. Now, this was 100-some years ago.
But what about Nancy Reagan?
Well, hold on. What winds up happening is you've got Dr. Biden, his wife, they call her doctor because she's always, they're thinking that she's actually the one that's acting for it. Now, bringing it more current, one of the problems with what happened this weekend was the low number of Secret Service agents on the scene when this shooting occurred. Why was there such a small number? Well, Mrs. Biden had a little Tea Party affair and she demanded maximum security. So they siphoned off people from guarding Trump, who wasn't just an unelected candidate, but was an actual former U.S. president entitled to the full panoply of Secret Service protection. They pulled a lot of people off of the duty that should have been theirs down there guarding Biden, and they sent the people up there to deal with Mrs. Biden at her little tea party-ish affair. It wasn't really a tea party, but I call it that. So that's one of the reasons that the shooting was able to occur. There was a total breakdown in what happened, but somebody was up there guarding someone who was in love with the power.
Judge, I don't even think, look, I know he's not controlling the government. We all know that. I was thinking it was Obama behind the scenes pulling, writing, doing the job for him. Because, they do those Skype, he could Skype them, phone calls. He makes private visits. I'm thinking Obama is the one pulling the strings, not the wife.
It's not so much Obama. It's out there. Bathhouse Berry was getting blackmailed by Biden for his homosexuality. He got thrown off a law review in law school. He was 30-some years old, not in his early 20s like most law students, because he couldn't keep his hands off the boys. And they removed him for a few months. He had the same problem as an undergrad. He couldn't keep his hands off the boys.
Is this factual, Judge, or is this some scandalous tidbits that you throwing out here?
Scandalous tidbits.
Mm-hmm.
Let's put it this way. I've talked to people that went to undergrad with him and were with him or in a nearby grad school when he was in law school. All right. And there is a consistency that comes out. He's the one that the LGBTQIA community raised $8.3 million for at one dinner they gave for him in Los Angeles when he was running for re-election. He's the one that pushed all of this stuff in there and changed the rules. So in the military, it switched over from don't ask, don't tell, you can be open about it. He's the one that started all of this crap about the rainbow infiltrating everything in government. So you can just take it from there. And also, his caretaker, when he was a child in Indonesia, was that way.
I have one more question, and then I want to land. This is my second question, Judge. Okay, Marjorie Taylor Greene. She needs to be leaked. She needs to be lassoed in and told to shut the F up. I know you saw the video of her blaming Black people for the attempted assassination of Donald Trump. And it was like she was showing different senators, Congress, media. And I'm just to the point, like, you have Black people who are doing a major move. We're separating from the Democratic Party and we're shifting. And you have this bad built, what was she called? Bad built, blonde beach, whatever I ain't gonna say the F word because it's your space, Dana. But she needs to be lassoed in and muzzled, because if we're trying to, we know what we need and we know we're not getting it from the Democratic Party, but she's not, helping things when she gets up there and blames Black people for the attempted assassination of Trump, when we clearly see it was a 20-year-old white male. And I'm just like, how do we always get entangled in, we're not even there, and we're somehow added into the conversation. So she needs to be tamed.
But you see, here's the thing. Young white people don't always make a distinction about the race. They just listen and they're trendy. What she was talking about is some of these violent utterances from the likes of Maxine Waters, who went out advocating that if you see a Trump Pence bumper sticker, key the car or break the windows, etc. So what she's saying is Black Democrats for the last 5 or 6 years have been running their mouths off encouraging violence. Now, I don't agree with her.
I don't agree with her either.
Stuff, but I know this. If you don't like what somebody's saying, the way to defeat the negative is not to restrict them. It's to counter what they're saying with more free speech, to oppose what they're saying or point out the inconsistencies. She has her utilities because she shakes stuff up and she does not let people get comfortable in what they are used to doing. So, she sort of mixes the pot and you get to see what precipitates out.
Yeah, and she has a right to practice her First Amendment. I don't listen to the lady. I just saw it come down my timeline. And I feel like, we're trying to move in a more so to the Republican side. And, I don't know if she's just stoking the flames, and I don't know if she's putting a bullet,
What happened?
Hello?
Oh no, because she's
Yeah.
very, she has power and she has influence. And I'm just saying. But I'll go ahead and land. Thank you, Dana. Thank you, Judge Joe Brown, for answering my questions. Y'all have a good night.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you. Appreciate you. All right, I'm gonna go to Art, and then I'm gonna swing back to, and then I'm gonna go swing back to Brooklyn. Anybody else wanna? And then I'll let people have their closing remarks. Go ahead, Art.
I got one question and one statement. Judge, if you said it dies when you were talking to Sarah, you said it dies with the person that did the harm, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so couldn't you put pressure by applying corporate personhood, in being that Wells Fargo, for example, like still is alive today if that was a person? See what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, but see, you get into another thing. When there is a wrong that involves personal injury, you have a statute of limitations. For most all states, it used to be 1 year. Some states have expanded that to 2 years, some to three.
But I noticed she said genocide,
Now,
right? So that would be
I
okay.
understand, but the point is that corporate entity or otherwise, you have to prove that there is some actual connection between the allegation and what's supposed to have happened. Now, that gets into this point, who got harmed? Somewhere in there, it's obvious that most of the people that got directly harmed by something like Wells Fargo have been dead a long time. All right.
Would that be under the
So
assumption
again,
that you like something like what does that one doctor call it? Post-traumatic slave syndrome?
that's not recognized as a cause of action in a court of law.
So no mental illness would be under that case then.
No. Now, as I said, I suppose you could sue the government, but you can't sue the government without the government's permission. There's a thing called sovereign immunity. You cannot sue a governmental entity unless they give you permission to sue. Now, usually they do that by either law, because it is something like public safety, let's say. The city has taken it upon himself to control traffic flow with traffic signals. And if the traffic signals are screwed up, people have come to rely upon those traffic signals. So, wow, you can sue the city if there's an accident because the traffic lights malfunction. On the other hand, you've got a sovereign immunity thing that could have some very bad results. For example, the city decides to employ some mental retarded people to give them some jobs. So the mental retarded people have been removing the leaves from the grating over a storm drain out in front of the school. So to keep from having to do that, they come up with the idea of removing the grates. So there's a whole bunch of leaves. So on Monday, what happens is that the storm over the weekend has caused a massive buildup of leaves, and 10 children step off the bus and fall down 9 feet, break legs, ankles, and arms when they hit the ground. But because nobody brought that to the city's attention, it's ruled that sovereign immunity prevents the parents and the students from suing the city for this negligence. It's kind of confusing until you make a study of it. Now, that's why the best thing going is a reparative act. It's called an Enablement and Appropriations Act. Enablement means you are allowed to bring this action, and appropriations means the government, through the legislative body, has set aside money to pay for it. This Gay Reparations Act that dealt with gay couples being denied insurance benefits was funded to the tune of $58 million, with that being open ended depending upon the number of applicants. So, in other words, it was enabled a cause of action for gay couples who were discriminated against insurance wise, were allowed to sue, and B, $58 million was put aside to deal with it, which wasn't much at all.
All
So,
right, from the government angle, one last question, I guess. From the government angle, the Census Bureau, you couldn't self-report fully till 1970. So wouldn't most people have a parent or a grandparent that would have went through that harm if you could prove discrimination because of said classifications?
in 1970, I was in my mid 20s. I went through the harm. So I wouldn't have to prove that a parent suffered. I could prove that I suffered.
Yeah, but you get my point though.
But yeah, I get your point. Now, the thing of it is that you get somebody like me and you point to what Wikipedia says. I was the highest paid man in Hollywood, not black man, but any man outside of, they put it in there, Leslie Moonves, CEO for CBS. That's what they say. Now, how do I complain about being held back? Now, granted, I've been thrown on the wall by LAPD. Granted, I had a Coke bottle shot off my knee I was holding from my mother when I was 5 years old, when some rednecks put a bullet hole through this DeSoto my old man was driving when we were going through too close to a sundown town in Alabama one time. But, you know, do I get the right to sue? I haven't got it yet. I'd like it, you know, be nice. And I think I'm entitled to it, but I've spent the last 50 years dealing with people who were entitled to something and weren't getting it. And even if they got a claim to it, the person that they got the claim against was judgment proof, so they couldn't collect it. So
let me
there's
throw
a
this
whole
on.
lot of stuff.
I
Go
wanna
ahead.
throw this on the table, and then I'll go around the room. I have to go to Brooklyn's, and then I'll go around the room. People have their last remarks, and I do have a couple of super chats. Thank you, Real Queen, for the lovely super chat as always. Um, when you are pursuing, because I almost forgot, when you are pursuing public policy or legislation, whether it's for reparations or whether it's a hate crime bill or anything like that, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think people need to understand that it's a process, and then it's a process that takes years. It may take 10 years. Correct, Judge?
Say that again. You broke up when you were talking.
Okay, so if someone is trying to get legislation passed, whether it's reparations legislation or restitution or public policies or a hate crime bill, something to that effect for a particular group, it's a process. And within that process, it may take years. It may take 10 years. Isn't that correct?
It takes a while.
And I think, right. And that's where I think a lot of stuff is being lost in translation when people go off and they have these spaces and they talk about reparations, we need blah, 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 or they want to put everything on your shoulders like, well, why you ain't do this, blah, 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 blah. It takes a collective effort, but people got to understand that you got to be willing to put 10 years in. It may happen.
Yeah.
It may happen before the 10. But if you ain't saying to yourself, I'm gonna devote 10 years. If you're not doing that, don't expect anything. Because with that classification of META, Middle Eastern, some Northern African, I heard that it took them 10 plus years to get that.
Because the census is every 10 years.
And that's not why. I mean, to get their name, it doesn't even matter. It's not because it's every 10 years. They were fighting to get their separate category, and it took them 10 years, not because the census is every 2 years. Like, it's the point I'm making is it's a process. It's not going to happen in a year. It's not going to happen in 5 years. It's not going to happen collectively on a federal level. It may be one state at a time or whatever it may be. But you're not willing to put 10 years into it, it's like a business. You don't see a profit for 5 years. If you're not willing to put 10 years into it, then don't be worried about what somebody else did or what they're not doing, or you fought, or you're anti this, you're anti that. You're not doing the work, and you're not willing to put that time and effort in. And you got to be willing to put at least 10 years into it. And that is a fact.
Yeah, it's like, okay, the Emmett Till anti-lynch bill was introduced in 1997 as something else. It says it's anti-lynch. It has absolutely nothing to do with lynching. What it does have to do with is interjecting sexual orientation into the American federal legal lexicon for the first time. Right now, we think of a lynching as a mob going after somebody and hanging them, right? Well, that's not what's in the Emmett Till anti-lynch bill. The anti-lynch bill is the same one that was up for consideration by Cory Booker and Kamala Harris when Juicy Jesse Smollett in Chicago faked that lynching, and they were going to introduce the bill a couple of days later or bring it back up under that heading. Kamala Harris's sister is married to a relative of Jesse Smollett, so Smollett finds that Kamala is his aunt by marriage. They had been meeting regularly. What they got together finally, as the anti-lynch bill says, that it only takes one person to commit a lynching, not a mob. The lynching does not have to be something that involved death. It could be a kidnapping that does not require a killing. It can also be a beating. And what that brings up is, let's say some guy has just broken up with his lady friend and he's feeling bad and he's in a bar and he's dancing with what he thinks is a PYT, pretty young thing. She's got on a tight dress, interesting boobs. Her hair is made up. She's coiffed, got her big hoop earrings on. They've been dancing and exchanging spit in the shadows. And then all of a sudden, Miss PYT thing gets a hard on, and the dude goes, "What the hell is this? You a dude?" And he busts him in his jaw. Well, that is a federal lynching now that brings in the FBI. All he did was bust him in the jaw and maybe knocked a tooth out or busted his lip. So you see, that took from 1997 until last year, 2023, which brings out your point, Dana. That's 26 years for it to get passed.
Right.
And
So, all
by the
right.
way, that was John Conyers that came up with that bill. He introduced it in 1997.
Right.
Again, what I said about the Black Caucus not doing a damn thing for Black folk, but for their adoptive ethnic orientation, rainbow, they introduced that kind of stuff.
All right. I want to go to Brooklyn, Real Queen, Sexy Rod, and then we'll close
I got
out.
words. I want to have final words, please.
All right. But go ahead, Brooklyn. Are you still there?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm here. I had to the batteries were dying on my smart lock earlier, so I had to take care of that. But like everything calmed down in here, but the women was on one earlier. I can't believe that I'm not the first one this week to call somebody a white devil. But what I
Who
wanted,
called somebody a white devil
We
tonight?
have
somebody
we
threw
have a
that out
uterus,
earlier.
sir. We have a uterus. We have a
Oh,
uterus. So sometimes we're
who?
emotional. It's how we're built.
I, do your thing. But I wanted to hear what I actually wanted to hear what the judge would say on the NAACP, who's been embarrassing black people for generations. Of course, they were in the conversation tonight because Joe Biden gave a speech in front of them in the middle of the Republican National Convention going on, and they're trying to hype this up as if he said something transformational for black people. They posted some video that's going around with a bunch of our people in the audience talking about how amazing the speech was. And of course, we all know that it's empty and meaningless, and they're not going to do anything for black people, and neither party is going to do anything for black people because the white man is the devil. America hates us, and that's how it's designed. But I would just love to hear the judge speak on the NAACP.
Well, the NAACP had a function at one point in time. It was funded by the Jewish community more than 100 years ago, not quite 120. And the purpose was this: the Jewish community felt that it was being dumped on by America. So the theory was is if you promoted the colored population, if you couldn't do it to a Negro, you couldn't do it to a Jew. I attended a lecture that Thurgood Marshall gave. It's been more than 50 years ago. And he said he expanded the theory because there were no laws outside of the 13th, 14th, 15th Amendment that weren't being applied really vigorously to the black situation. So he took the SPCA laws, the Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animal laws, and he said his theory was is if you couldn't do it to a dog, you couldn't do it to a Negro, which would keep the Jewish community financing the NAACP, so it wouldn't be done to a Jew. Now, that promoted a strategy that led to Brown v. Board of Education. And the rest is history after that. But that fell apart. And indeed, this is a case for the application of the term that's been thrown around a lot tonight, boule. The NAACP is not a business organization dealing with what some felt was the revolutionary practice of overthrowing segregation, but it's now a social club that does next to nothing because there are no lawsuits to file. There are no lawyers who will take these cases. There's not the money paid out for people to go take these cases, and it essentially does nothing but throw parties. And it doesn't even put on the NAACP Image Awards, which, by the way, is done by a totally separate corporation that has a relationship to the NAACP, but the NAACP does not control the Image Awards. Since I brought that up, I just have to add this. The Image Awards are given when the judges decide who's to get an award. 400 of the judges do not have to be NAACP members. They are simply members of the entertainment industry, mostly Jewish. And 400 of them have to be NAACP members. So what winds up happening is the entertainment industry controls who gets an award. And the image is supposed to be promoting something positive about blackness, but the awards are not given for that purpose. And it's interesting that the one person who has gotten more image awards than any other person is Spielberg, Jewish, and he's married to a black woman. So you can just take it from that. The
Oh, he's not
organization
married
is,
to a black woman.
well, which one is the one married to that did E.T.?
Well,
Who's
he
that?
was
Yes,
checking
that's
me out in Beverly Hills before, so it ain't like he don't like us, okay?
that's Steven Spielberg, but he's married to a white woman.
I think it's George
Well, which
Lucas
one
with
is
a black woman.
Yeah, you talking about George
George
Lucas?
George Lucas? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Now I don't keep up with this Hollywood bull that much, but yeah. Okay, George Lucas. So just take it for what it's worth. The NAACP was set up to advance the interest of the Jewish community by saying we will take a lower tier set of people, the Negroes, the colored, and we will see if we can get them their rights, because if they get their rights, then the Jews, being above them on the social totem pole, will definitely get theirs. That's how that old, and if that explains it, it's long winded, but
No,
it's
that's
somewhat
on point.
complicated.
And they also gave Donald Sterling an Image Award, did they not?
Yeah. Like, for example, I was in attendance twice at these Image Awards. It's been 24 years ago, 25 years ago. And they gave Holly Berry an Image Award, and it was in Monsters Ball, where she played this bumpkin sister with a real fat kid who gets killed in a car accident. And she's glad of it, but she's screwing somebody that executed her husband, and he's a white redneck. So, how is that an Image Award where she's naked on screen and doing a clumsy sex scene, several of them?
Right.
And that's supposed to be a good
That's
image for black
exactly the
folks.
black
And
image they
then,
want to push.
And that was before it was
yeah,
common. That was
and
before it
then
was common to be naked. It was before it was common. You see it everywhere.
no, it was no, that was back 2000.
I know.
That, but that was not uncommon, because you got to look at what you did with Pam Grier and Foxy Brown, where she'd have one or both tits pop out every time she got knocked to the ground, which was 6 or 7 times during the movie. And Flash the Beaver shot, and they'd have 4 obligatorily naked white women just coming out of the shower that would walk through the apartment living room. It was supposed to be in a mansion. Yeah. Anyhow,
Was that in
is what it
Brooklyn?
is.
I don't know if he could hear me.
Yeah, I just wanted to slide that in as an excellent reminder that the white man is the devil, and that this system is designed to use us to push different agendas, to push agendas that do not actually advance Black people. And we got to remember that and keep that in
Well,
mind.
What would
you
the
have to understand.
space be if we didn't have Brooklyn? Like, it's like I look forward to when Brooklyn come out. Like the space would not be complete without Brooklyn's
I love to hear that,
ideology.
Dana.
Let me add something to this mix. I had biology as a minor, and I was very fascinated to read this one time when I was doing some deep research on something. It was talking about the great apes of Africa. Said Africa is known for its great apes, chimpanzees, gorillas, and Negroes. And said it's astonishing how these 3 apes can so closely mimic human behavior. The Negro ape can even speak.
That's funny. Let
Yeah,
me
that
also
makes
say
perfect
this.
sense. And that's why you should take everything that comes from them with a big grain of salt.
Let me say
Well,
this
all
though.
of them are bad, I mean,
The views of
The ones that
Brooklyn
are not bad are the
Israelites
ones that are that
is
are ready to get on
is
their knees and go to work.
But let me just say this for a disclaimer: the views of Brooklyn Israelites is not the views of the real Dana.
Hey, wait, let me
Hosting this
clarify one thing, because I hope
space.
nobody takes that weird. I just said get on their knees and go to work. That's because the scriptures prophesy that the white man is going to be our slave. That was not anything sexual, because I know there's going to be some pervert in the audience.
No. I didn't.
No, not
I didn't take
you.
it
I'm
that
just
way.
saying there's going to be somebody
Yeah.
out there.
And also, listen, I don't go around looking at white people as being devils, because it's especially outside of media, me working in the healthcare industry, like I don't see people and groups of people differently, like that. And I know a lot of good people who just so happen to be white. And also, I come across a lot of Black devils. So if we're gonna talk about devils, damn it, we gotta talk about all the devils. I
To
had
be
several.
clear, and that's a whole nother conversation, but to be clear, I'm not saying not to be cordial with the people that you have to deal with in your day, because what's really, the real enemy are the people that have real power in this society. But, there's a whole nother conversation we could go into on that.
Right. Yeah. I get what you're saying. And real quick, because I want to get to some of the super chats, and shout out to everybody on YouTube. I love you guys. Lap DS Lap D SWAT says, "Good evening, Judge Joe Brown. Do you think the elites will burn everything down this fall/winter if they lose?"
I don't know. Let's see. Be careful. If you ask to live in exciting times, you might find that
Hmm. And I would say the elites are more devilish. And the Lord is my
what are you
shepherd.
calling elites?
I'm going to say the liberals, the politicians, the people who needs position of power, even the 1%. Um, I think when he's saying elites burning everything down this fall winter, I think he's talking about the Democrat elites because they're going to lose. That's how I'm taking it. So, Lap, if you're still in the chat, can you elaborate? And thank you to the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. This is great. Thank you, Judge Joe Brown. You too, Dana. Appreciate you. And of course, Real Mahat. Thank you so much. She says, Alice for America came out with the facts, and the guy claiming to rebut me failed. It's a round one TKO. I think you're talking about Deshaun from earlier because this was from earlier. Uh, and I just want to say shout out to Deshaun for coming up early as well. Let me go to Sexy Ra. I'm gonna go to Judge Sarah and no, Real Queen, Judge Sarah and Art, and then we'll just shut it down.
Uh,
Go ahead, Sexy Ra.
okay, so I kind of have two in one, Dana and Judge Joe Brown. One is, are you aware, Judge, the what the establishment is doing so that we do not separate or delineate ourselves via the OMB, the Office of Management and Budget, from the immigrants? I don't know if you're aware of that. That is some when you all
Say again. You broke up. Say that again.
okay. So the OMB, we as grassroots activists literally engaged and interviewed with the OMB to make sure that we delineated, meaning on the census and on any applications, that we are delineated from the recent arrival of the immigrants, right? That they're not checking the same box as us. Are you aware of that and us being engaged in making sure that we delineate for policy specific to
I haven't
us?
seen that on any federal forms.
Right, right,
I've filled out quite a few lately. That's not on any federal forms. What they still have is you begin with two boxes: Hispanic, non-Hispanic. If you indicate Hispanic, you skip all the rest.
right.
But if you indicate non-Hispanic, then you have to indicate white or Caucasian, black or African American, et cetera, et cetera,
Correct,
et cetera.
correct. We are working. That's something the grassroots that's been working on, right? As a part of pushing so we can push policy that is specific to us. In California, our grassroots activists did push that policy, did write up that policy, and they did get it pushed in California. Now the languaging still includes like African descent and then a breakdown of African American. I think there's some more terms that ADOS or think something like that we can select. But they begin the process, and that is something that the grassroots did. And we did that because we want to make sure that as we move forward with reparations, and then this is all I'm going to speak on reparations, and we move forward with reparations, there's no confusion about who's who, because in that the OMB did rule against us because they stated the legacy organizations decided it would be confusing for the immigrants. However, they just recently opened it back up for comments. So I wanted to put that out there to individuals and make sure you are aware of what we're doing as grassroots and making sure policy is going forward. It's specific to us, and it's not including minorities, people of color, disadvantaged. We want to make our legislation going forward very specific, and I will say California started that. So I'm not aware if you know about that or not.
Yeah, the census is weird. I filled out six as an adult, and I found this last one interesting. It was the first one where I was not asked my citizenship status. That was the 2020 census. the first. All of the rest of them not only ask me my citizenship status, but some of them ask what the status was for my parents. So I attribute that to this. California, New York, and Illinois put some political pressure on the process so that these people who were legal or illegal immigrants would be counted so that California, Illinois, and New York would not lose representatives in Congress. And these people that were being counted would not be necessarily voting, but would add to the influence of the rainbow cult that has completely swept California and to a great extent New York and now spreading deep into Illinois.
Well, we definitely want to delineate from any, whether they're legal or illegal immigrants, because they're not of our ethnic lineage, right? And then also we want to make sure the data is disaggregated in the fact that you have all the criminal aspects and categories, and we want to see if our people are actually committing all of these crimes, right? That they claim that it's black on black crime and black people are this. Well, the new arrivals are getting lumped in with us, and we're receiving the pushback, the negative propaganda about Black Americans and our culture. So that's what we're noticing as grassroots activists that are actually engaged in political processes and writing policy. The other thing I want to ask you is, what is your thought about, and this has nothing to, this is politics, but what is your thought about Donald Trump challenging the 14th Amendment against, as he's saying, and I agree with him, it's been utilized for illegal immigration. They can come here, have babies on the soil 2 weeks before or whatever as a vacation, have the child on this soil, and now the child supposedly has citizenship, and then that in effect helps them with chain migration. So Trump in his Agenda 47 has laid out, he has stated he's willing to sign an executive order the first day he is in office. And he's going to make sure that it is something he moves forward in challenging the 14th Amendment. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, first off, you can't undo a constitutional amendment by an executive order. It
I don't
says
think he's
what it
undoing it.
says.
I think he's saying that he's going to make sure that he removes any illegal aliens or immigrants that have had children on this
E-
soil and think that their child has, because the child was born here, is now a citizen. So then it helps
Well,
them to for the
I
chain
got that
migration.
part. I wasn't through with the comment. The issue is, see, I had an argument with Dana on this one not long ago.
Yeah, I was going to say, we talked about this last week, birthright
And
citizenship.
now, here is the thing. See, there are three things that make up a nation or a state. It's a territory, a fixed geographical territory with borders. Included in this territory are all of the mineral resources. Included are the weather patterns, water supplies, and such like. Okay. Then there is the population. The population, the people, they are a resource of the state. Then there is the government that controls the interaction between the people and the territory and that collective group with the outside world. So at the time the 14th Amendment was put in place, the United States was not 50 states. There was a frontier, a wilderness that stretched for 1,500 miles from basically the Mississippi the Oklahoma Territory, et cetera, Nevada, New Mexico, Colorado, all of these were territories all the way to California. And they needed a population to fill up this empty space. So, yes, that was what the 14th Amendment anticipated. We're trying to build up the human resources of the United States by increasing the population. Now, technically, the United States does have the authority and power to keep the children here, just taking them from the illegal parent and deporting the parent and keeping the child here and raising it in a collective. But it doesn't, because that would be very, very bad when it comes to international relations. And also, a lot of people here wouldn't stand for it. So they allow the parents as a kindness, not necessarily a prerequisite, to stay here and care for the children, so they get anchored here and you just can't throw them out. Now, Trump, on an executive order, might be able to reverse that, because keeping the parent here is not embraced in the 14th Amendment. It's the child that's born here. They are a product of the soil of the United States, born on American soil. In the 19th century, you were a creature of the soil where you were born, like a plant. You grew here.
Well,
so that's how you get this thing in place, and that's where you get the anchor baby concept going.
Yeah, but
It's
so
not a requirement of the law, it's a matter of policy.
1 second, Sexy Rod, 1 second. Um, how about actually, Sexy Rod, you just laid out next Tuesday's topic for the space, because I do want to revisit that, because yeah, me and actually I meant to upload that as a clip on YouTube. I just didn't do it yet. But yeah, because we were going back and forth. Because that's kind of loaded, and I'll save what I want to say for next week. But I think we need to talk about that, because that has to do with the illegal migrants, the anchor hospitals and all this other stuff that's going on. And how does it affect Americans, and how does it affect Black Americans specifically? Because it does, but yeah. So next week, Sexy Rod, definitely next week, Tuesday, that's what we're going to talk about.
okay.
And yeah,
And I just
because
want
it's go ahead.
no, I just wanted to say that I have been a reparationist, or I've been politically involved most of my life, right? Because of my grandmother. However, I will say that I've been a reparationist or involved in the reparations fight since 2008, right? And I know for a fact, when we were together as a collective and our voices were getting louder, that Obama and some legacy organizations met to make sure they quieted us and not to talk about reparations. So I think with a lot of people that, like me, we've been doing this work for over 10 years. And we engaged with the Congressional Black Caucus. We've engaged with Dr. Darity, Cornel West, and we're seeing, unfortunately, we're I think we're disappointed that a great deal of our elders have let us down in moments where we could have been encouraged, empowered, and we could have really had a lot more momentum and energy behind reparations before we got to this point. So I just wanted to state that. Thank you, Dana. I'll see you next Tuesday for this topic. I'll land it there.
Yeah, appreciate you. All right, Art, and then I want to just I want to close out because I'm tired now.
Yeah.
Oh, go
I
ahead.
thought you said you
No,
would
go ahead.
come to me too,
Yes, yeah,
Dana.
So
I'm
mine
sorry.
will be less than a second.
Okay, yes. Art, then Judge Sarah, then Real
No, Art
Queen.
long-winded.
No,
No,
I'll be quick, but
you
I'll wait
are
for the
Judge
ladies.
Sarah. Huh?
I said I'll be quick, but I'll wait for the ladies.
Okay, I
You
just
want the
want to
lady to
say,
go first?
I just want to
Okay.
say, Judge Joe Brown, I'm reading A Lawyer Writes, and I love it. And I also would like to encourage you to continue those 16 hours a year. You want to think about it?
No, I'm not. I'm not getting in front of some
Well,
of these
I'm gonna let you
jackasses that
think
have the
about it.
bat
I,
capes on.
I'm gonna let.
I'm
I
not
know it
getting in
takes.
front of some
I
of
know
these
it takes
bat
men a
capes.
while, like to let it sit in and manifest.
No, that's not it. It's like you move on and you're used to giving decisions and you're used to controlling the thing. It doesn't do good to get in front of somebody 30 years younger than you who is new at the game, who you just sit there and cringe saying, oh, how screwed up. And you have to kowtow to them. That's just, You
Okay.
know, you become a general, you don't go back to
To being
being
a
a
soldier.
private again. Yeah.
Right. Go ahead, Real Queen.
All right, I'll be very brief. JD Vance is a powerful ticket for Trump, okay, because he understands the poor. I'm going to pivot to Deshaun, the speaker from earlier. He failed to rebut the points I made. Instead, he talked about me saying allegedly that blacks don't go to work. I never said that. Now I want to pivot to Thomas Matthew Crooks for a moment because this um, gives us insight into Negro gaslighting. What do I mean? Well, we just heard Brooklyn talk about the white man as the devil. Well, sir, that's played out. It's tired. It goes no place except for people
I'm
like
tired of
Thomas.
him being the
Excuse
devil.
me, sir. Well, except for people like Thomas Matthew Crooks, cuck white males who are weak, okay, probably grew up without a father. This bullying gets to them. See, because they lack manhood. So what did we see play out actually? We saw a white man say, why me? Why is black Americans angry at me? Why are so many people blaming me, the Jews and other groups? And so what we saw probably was because they say in the media he was a registered Republican, we probably saw him trying to save the day for Negroes, saying, well, if Donald Trump, orange man, so bad, I'm going to take him out for you. So there you go. So this talk, misguided hatred of white people, which has no place in the 21st century, soon to be the 22nd, you dig, is bullshit. Sir, you need to grow up, get some new content. And what you're actually doing, like that lady who came up earlier with all this misguided smoke for the judge, is you're gaslighting, okay? To cover for your cognitive dissonance as a nobody. See, Negroes that claim I'm a freedman, all you do is you sit down and you daydream about your pipe dream called FBA or ADOS, but you never put any boots to the ground, burn any holes in your shoes, putting pen to paper, going to legislative branches or the city council meetings to get shit done. You're just talking on internet spaces to be heard, to trauma bond. So that's your issue. That's your work. Alicia for America, the people's champion. I've spoken.
Torrin on
What up,
YouTube
yeah,
says,
man?
I love her voice.
Hey, real quick, real queen, you just head into your local Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge with your head covered and sit there nice and quiet, and we'll get you right. Don't worry.
Yeah, you need to get home.
Sorry, sir. This isn't a science fiction novel, sir. Quit playing.
Professor, what's going on with your audio, Professor?
I don't know, Dana. It's something to do with that bed wrench you got in this space.
Let's not call
Oh,
each
there we
other.
go again. Gaslighting, y'all. That's all he's got, though, Dana. Gaslight. Ooh, I'm offended. Grow
No,
up,
girl,
son.
I'm the resident bed wench. I got you. That's me. Okay, you can't take my title, mama.
No, she took your title a long time ago.
That's my title, honey.
She beat you on that title, Judge. She took that title. Hey, look at him, Cream Mott. Hey, much respect to you, though, sister. You smart as hell, but boy, I keep trying to tell you, stop coming up in here telling us Black Americans what we need to be doing, and what you need to do is.
And who are you, sir? to tell me anything, as if I'd actually give a damn. Mic drop. Oh, by the way, I'm the people's
Okay.
champion, an
Okay, so
American
let me say
badass.
this. All right, so unlike women that go back and forth, men don't go back and forth like that. Unless it's probably with another man. But all right, let me go to Art.
Yeah, if back to your title, plantation politics. See that as both parties. If you haven't seen a movie, I put a little short clip of a cartoon called The Jones Plantation. And to keep it very short, Massa Jones sat there and gave the slaves options. So they would think that they were free under the illusion of guise of freedom. And they would sit there and vote. At the end of the day, they still was on the plantation, no matter who they voted for. So I think there's a little clip that I think everybody should watch because it reminds me of today's politics and how both parties just blame the other party, and then no legislation really needs to get done because it's all the other party's fault, right? I'll end it there.
Okay. What did Brooklyn say? You gonna sit there covered up? Good. Um. It was a
She
good
just got to
space.
come in with her head covered like any other sister and just sit there nice and
Thank
quiet.
you,
We'll teach her. We'll
Dana
get her right.
and Judge Joe Brown.
All
I
right,
think you will
so
still be the general.
yeah, so we're gonna close out. It's been 3 hours and 24 minutes. Now people requesting, we're about to close out. It's late. It's late. But next Tuesday, thank you, Sexy Rod. That's a great topic, and I do want to revisit because me and the judge haven't really argued on this space for at least a couple of weeks. And next week we're probably going to argue because I am against the birthright citizenship. And I don't know and then it's like tweaking a constitution is kind of skating on thin ice. But yeah, so that's going to be next week's conversation. Immigration, illegal migrants, and birthright citizenship, and 14th Amendment. So we're going to get back to business with the politics next week. And everybody that sent in a donation, thank you guys so much. I appreciate you. I love you. Everybody on YouTube that's been rocking since the beginning, like steady. Thank you so much. Southern Belle, great moderator. I didn't see Katalia in here tonight, but she's great too. So thank you, everybody on YouTube. Everybody listening here on X, all the speakers, great speakers that came up. I really appreciate you guys every week that come up here. Much respect. And I want to have the judge. Well, let me just say this one thing. Because a couple of people, not just Sarah, a couple of people even hit me on the back end saying too much disrespect going towards the judge. And I have to agree, not just tonight, but it was Sunday when I was in News Toter, even a little, not so much when we held the 6 hour space, but the previous on Saturday, it's just too much disrespect overall. If you disagree with what the man says, that's fine. But to sit up here and question his resume, question his integrity, question his lineage, question his knowledge, his scholarship, he is the walking scholarship. So to question it and to accuse and assume and cause him total disrespect, but then you want to talk about white supremacy, but you're running around here acting like white supremacy. So I want to point that out because I noticed even in space and News Total space, you came in there with the wrong talking points, with the wrong objective, because the title was review of the space when we was talking about reparations, but everybody focused on me and how I talk, and the judge, he point fingers, he's this, he's that, or whatever. You're focused on the wrong thing. You're focused on the wrong thing. And then it took tonight with him breaking certain things down, particularly to Amia, that she kind of understood, like, okay, now I understand. But what you did, people like her, not just her, you accuse and you assume. And then you want to wait for someone to explain it, then you get to understand it. You need to ask first to get the understanding first before you throw accusations. And I'm starting to see that pattern over and over and over again. And I hate to be specific because this doesn't apply to every Black person. I don't agree with a lot of Brooklyn's ideology because of his religion, right? But that's fine. But it's nothing but respect. I love what he brings to the table. I'm not going to go and accuse and assume of him of doing anything or whatever. So you could not agree or not align with someone's values and stuff like that, but the disrespect has to stop.
When he was on the
That's
bench
all.
and he talked to them hood rats and hood cats, he spoke to them respectfully. That's what made me admire him. He was always dignified. He spoke to the hood rats and cats, you know who you are, with respect. He wasn't doing Judge Mathis shit. He spoke to you with dignity. That's why I liked him. He was an intelligent, dignified Black man.
Right. So with that, thank you,
If I
everybody.
can say one little
Oh
thing.
yeah, I was giving it over to you, Judge, to close
No,
it
I
out.
mean, this is a closeout. This person's name is Brown, too. His name is Professor Roscoe Brown. He's no longer with us. He used to be Captain Roscoe Brown of the 332nd Airmen, the Tuskegee Airmen. Research based on the Luftwaffe records that came into the open after the wall went down show that he is now tied for being the second high scoring U.S. fighter pilot in Europe in World War II. All right. I met him. I was in New York and I spoke to a function and I invited him to accompany me to Ebenezer Baptist Church. That was Adam Clayton Powell's old church. And we were talking to some street people, some young brothers, thugs, gangsters. They fancied themselves when they were talking about killing people. So when I was on the podium, I said, we have somebody in here that has killed quite a few people. And I recounted what was then the latest score. No way, man. How did dude get out the penitentiary, man? I said, he wasn't in the penitentiary. So I started giving them clues. And they say, this dude's stone cold killer, man. You know, like, where is this dude? Well, pick him out. Nobody picked him out, so I brought him up. And he was a slight guy. He still ran the New York Marathon in his 80s. And he had killed quite a few people. 50 caliber machine guns at 30,000 feet, 4 hours from home. And the temperature was 70 below zero outside his cockpit. So I said, see, this is the baddest man in this room. Ain't nobody got the bones this guy's got. But does he look like he's a thug? He's a gangster? No. And see, if I hadn't told you, you never would have realized that the stone coldest killer in this room was not one of you, but was a professor, emeritus, retired. You see, so you never can tell what somebody who is an old man's been up to. Now, I learned that long, long ago. Some of these folk may be some real live badasses, some maybe not. But you sometimes would do well to listen. I had a first cousin who got shot 3 times in the Nam. My dad, who was a World War II veteran, was telling him some stuff. And he came back, he survived his wounds, and he said, I should have listened to Unc. He was trying to tell me, and I wasn't really paying attention because I was saying he's too old. But if I had listened to him, I wouldn't have got shot. So I'm recovered, but it was painful. And I learned my lesson. Open your ears, listen. Open your eyes and look. Keep your mouth shut so you can hear sometimes. And then when you get through having the experience, you can clue other folk. That's how humans got from cave to condo, from where we used to be to where we are now. So that's just the word up. And everybody have a nice evening. And I'm retired, but I'm working 40 hours a week talking to folk, and I don't get paid for this. Now, how about